Check, check, check. All right, thanks for your patience. I'll bring this Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen joint special meeting, well, regular meeting of ours, special meeting with the Selectmen. I'll call our meeting to order. Mike Anderson, the chair, got Dan Smith, the vice chair, got Lou Gingerella, Carl Johnston, Gary Nino, Ed McGowan, Sarah Nelson, and Winona Burdine. Yeah, I said Winona. I got that one. Burdine. And we can move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yep.
Okay, this is a joint meeting, so we'll call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order. Also, I'm Bob Carlson, the first selectman. Also, we have Selectwoman Nicole Porter and Selectman John Gassion. Thanks, Mike.
Good to have you with us. We can start off with public comments. Anyone in the room? Please come on up to the mic and just tell us who you are, where you're from.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Hi, I'm Jeremy Perry. I grew up in North Stonington my whole life. It's a wonderful town. I'm here on a slightly uncomfortable situation that has to do with the North Stonington ambulance. A couple of years ago, my son had a seizure in our living room, and I was trying to do everything I can to get him situated. He was having trouble breathing. His jaw was shut. I was trying to make sure that he stayed alive and didn't throw up, and everything that you need to do when your son has an unexpected seizure. We called the North Stonington ambulance, and it seemed like time was just kind of going by. I live at 198 North Westerly Road, which is right on Richard White's property, not even a half a mile or maybe 3/4 of a mile from here. And a lot of time went by to the point where I stopped doing what I was doing and grabbed the phone from the person that had called 911, which was my brother-in-law at the time. And I looked, and the cell phone had just crossed 10 minutes. You know, and in a situation like that, you'll never forget seeing that number. And, you know, which I can understand certain situations, but at that point I kind of wanted to know what was going on. What is taking so long? It's a 2.4 mile drive at that time. And that's 4 minutes if you have to follow all the street signs and lights and all of that. And so I had asked the person on the phone with me, the operator said, you know, what's going on? She said, they're coming from another call. They're just about to be there. Okay. That's fine. It's understandable. There's only so many people that can take care of the town. So they finally arrive just after that 10-minute mark and took my son off to Bacchus. They had to stop at a gas station to pick up an actual EMS person, a doctor, whoever it was, which was, that's understandable. They at that point were debating whether they should airlift him to Hartford or Yale or something like that. He was still not talking, not really breathing well, not opening his eyes. It's a very scary situation. Well, he a couple hours later finally started coming back to at the hospital. Thank God he was okay. So I had, after this happened, reached out to the ambulance association to Well, actually, when they had got to my house, I asked them, kind of what took so long. They said, well, I said, were you at another call? And then they said, no, that they were right at the ambulance station. They were not at another call, which I had confirmed with James Tuttle through email. So they were 4 minutes away. Took over 10 minutes to get there. So I had, at that point, felt obligated to question the situation. So I reached out to them and I got a long, detailed email back from Mr. Tuttle, I believe, who's now the president of the, well, either way, him and Ryan Burdick were running the situation at that time. I'm not sure who's still involved or whatever. And I got a long detailed email back, saying that we understand that those situations can be tough and every second seems like a minute. And we actually responded and we're at your house within 6 minutes, on the road in 7 minutes, and off to Bacchus. Which it's a long email that I just sent to Bob. I guess if maybe I can get some, I'm really here just to get some answers at some point. So I started to question things again. I wasn't sure if maybe I had saw something on that phone that was wrong. Maybe they were right. It was a really long, detailed email right down to the second of when things happened. So I questioned, how do I go about retrieving an EMS phone call? Well, I had to go to Groton Town Police Station because that's where the operators keep that stuff. And I purchased a CD for $15 and I played it, and it was a 10-minute phone call, just over before they arrived. And I brought that to the ambulance station. I stopped there probably 30 times, probably called them more than 30 times, and never received an answer or another response. So I received a long, detailed, fabricated email of what sounded good to them in their standards, and never could ever even get a sit-down, face-to-face, man-to-man conversation from any of those other guys who are also parents as to what happened that night. And I would like to maybe even just get some answers or some honesty as to what happened that time, because I understand that we are funding them and expecting them to be honest, up forward, transparent company. This is the first time I've ever had the calmness to bring it up. It's a very tough situation with what a lot of you already know that I've been through, and I just would love to, at some point, get some answers. It's been quite a while. So maybe I tried reaching out to them personally. I tried doing what I figured was the right thing to do, person to person, man to man, and have received absolutely nothing. So maybe before you guys fund them, as I'm sure you guys, a lot of you guys are parents, would want to make sure the same thing didn't happen to you, because who knows if those few minutes turned into something way more serious. I appreciate your guys' time. That's all I have to say.
Mike, so Jeremy, I'm not going to answer for the ambulance because Logan's here. But I would say this was in January of 2018. When we first took off, this group took office was in 2021. And one of the first things we did is, and Logan will tell you, sat in my office, we went through the entire ambulance. We almost got abolished the North Stone Ambulance Association and went to American. We've made a lot of changes since then, changes in leadership, changes with personnel, changes with coverage. And here we are 8 years later in our ambulance. So I've never had any complaints. I just got I mentioned it last night at the meeting, a phone call from somebody who feels we just saved their lives. So I'm so sorry that all happened to you. And I do know some of the history with you and your family. And it's an awful situation. And I don't know, and maybe Logan, you can speak to this, but the people that were there then are not in the Ambulance Association now. It's not the same group as was there.
On your town website, that's still all who is listed as the.
I just looked at that today, actually, and I can't believe we have we have not updated the website. So, but Logan's the chief, and do you want to speak on this, Logan, if you could? Jim. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Logan Taylor. I'm the chief of North Stonington Ambulance. I'm honestly sorry that happened. I was hired in 2021. The company was not operating the way that it should have been operating at that time. There was a lot of missing parts and missing components. It could have been so much as a dispatch error. It could have been the crew receiving the call, because at the time they were using Minotaur 5 pagers. That could be hit or miss sometimes. I can't see any of the EMTs. My EMT is currently sitting in the building waiting to respond to a pediatric emergency. But at that time, I'm not sure what the staffing level was. I'm more than happy to look into who was on duty that day, if we had a full ambulance crew that day. James Tuttle and Ryan Burdick were in charge of the ambulance in 2018. Tuttle is a trustee, but besides that, they have no other control over the company. And I can assure you that my ambulance is staffed 24 hours a day, 365 days a year with 2 people fully trained and capable. I can understand that. I wish that I would have received one of your phone calls, because I would have answered your questions prior to now. I honestly, truly would. I've never heard. Okay. But I can get answers for you. I can pull records for you and see what happened. Absolutely.
And just so Logan's going to present tonight for the Ambulance Association in their budget ask. As he has done in the last several years, he's going to tell us about the rate of calls that have been answered and what have you, and probably in the last year, and perhaps he might have the data from the year before. It certainly is nothing like what you're talking about, and I do apologize for what happened to you and your family. We have kids and would be mortified. But I hope you can get some answers tonight of what their response rate is when he does give his presentation, which we'll get to shortly.
And Bob's very right. When I took over, our organization was at 68% failure rate. So we were on the cusp of losing our organization.
I had reached out to Bob. I reached out to Ursula. All I had asked for was some answers, and they basically just put it under the rug and said, Ursula looked at me and I said, what do you want to do? I'm thinking to myself, why do I have to answer that question? You know, if I'm visit to the council.
So I'm not just, the problem is I'm not trying to listen. You have every right to have a valid concern. The only point is we're on Zoom and only people that are on the mic can hear what's being said. So what I'm going to do is when Logan gives his presentation, if you have additional questions, I'm actually going to give you some time to ask your questions right after his presentation, rather than making you wait till the end where public comment would happen again. But I just can't have the back and forth with no one being able to hear you and only one-sided. Okay? All right. Any other public comment before we get into the meeting? Anyone online have raised a hand? Seeing none, we're going to move right into agenda item number 5. Correspondence. Yeah, sure. Correspondence. I received correspondence from Jen Linweaver regarding the assessor's report that I sent out to you guys. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report. We do have the Board of Ed from Troy that that'd be addressed at a different time, where he sent out the financials from December. Other than that, I don't have any correspondence. Anyone else? Bob, you have any correspondence you want to discuss? Okay. On to number 5, the assessor's report on the grand list.
All right, good evening. It's good to see you all again. So the October 1st, 2025 grand list was completed on time. The total overall was 935,919,296. That represents an increase of 300,697,145 over the 2024 grand list. Overall, that is a 47.33% increase. The largest driver of that was real estate. We just implemented a revaluation for 10/1/25. There was a 62% increase in the real estate grand list. Personal property typically is a declining asset. It did go down quite a bit this year, about 17% due to exemption loss. The motor vehicle list went up 14%, which I don't anticipate will be common in future years. The state of Connecticut recently changed the methodology by which we assess motor vehicles. It used to be 70% of the clean retail value, and now it is the manufacturer's suggested retail price and a straight line depreciation schedule. Last year, all towns in Connecticut saw a decrease in their motor vehicle lists. That was a 1-year shift. This year, we're seeing an increase, and I believe that it'll balance out for years to come. 1 mil would be equal to 935,919. We had about 14 new single-family residents in town. We had 16 new businesses. And that is the overall overview of the grand list, but I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Can you talk a little bit more about the solar property, the solar personal property exemption? You referenced the.
Yep. So for the past couple of years, the legislature has been debating how to handle commercial and industrial solar systems in the state of Connecticut. There has been a lot of ambiguity, I would say, in terms of the main exemption criteria that was offered in the past. The solar companies have largely lobbied for a uniform capacity tax, which is how some other states handle it. A uniform capacity tax would operate essentially like a payment in lieu of taxes. They finally came to an agreement last year, but it was part of a larger energy omnibus bill. So for any system that receives permission to operate after July 1st of 26, they would fall under the uniform capacity tax. And that is a certain amount per megawatt. What they also did, which I don't think, and it wasn't intentional, was when you are going to do a payment in lieu of taxes, you have to exempt it off the grand list, right? So it would show on the printed grand list as exempt, and they're going to make a payment that's agreed upon on whatever it is. They made the exemption effective for October 1st of 25, as opposed to October 1st of 26. In talking for years with the legislature, it was agreed upon that the taxability, whatever the status of existing systems were, would remain the same. So if it was taxable, it would remain taxable. If it was exempt, it would remain exempt. And only those systems that received permission to operate after July 1st, 26 would be under the new uniform capacity tax. Unfortunately, that's not what they did. The legislature is having several meetings. There's a meeting this Friday. I know that they would like to have a fix. They're aware of the implications to towns. How they fix it, I'm not sure.
Sorry, just a few follow-up questions. So what the payment in lieu of taxes, the payment, is that like structured by the state then?
Yes.
And does the payment come to the town?
Yep.
Or
The payment would go directly to the town.
do we have any idea of what it is compared to what we would have gotten?
But at zero,
Right.
which is what we're getting now.
She said we're going to get a payment in lieu of taxes.
That starts like
only-
the following fiscal year.
The only systems that are going to receive, that are going to operate under the uniform capacity tax would be new systems. So existing systems would not fall under that program. New solar systems, so new projects that are commercial and industrial that are receiving permission, I'm assuming by Eversource, because that have, you know,
Mm.
the permission to operate, once the project has been completed, those fall under the uniform capacity tax. Anything that's existing would stay under the old methodology, depending on whether it had received the exemption that's available under 128157 or not. So there are some commercial industrial solar systems, depending on their size, their nameplate capacity, their virtual net metering agreements, that can be taxable. Some of them are still eligible for an exemption. So that's why they said they did not want to touch the taxability, whatever the status was of any existing system in the state of Connecticut wouldn't be touched by this legislation. But unfortunately, that's not what was written ultimately. So if the North Stonington were to have a new project come in the next 2 years, that would fall under the uniform capacity tax. The existing systems that are currently in North Stonington right now would not.
So they don't pay taxes at all, or
They have been paying, my understanding is that prior to me coming in, they have been paying taxes, the two main
Yeah.
commercial projects. They are now 100% exempt unless the legislature does something retroactively.
They're exempt from paying taxes, but they are not going to pay payment in lieu of
No.
taxes.
Because they received permission to operate before July 1st of 26.
There's two separate statutes. Well, there's a public act that came out, which is 125-173, which is what is it Lineweaver?
Line Weaver.
Lineweaver is referring to. I looked at the statute today after receiving this report. And, you know, it most likely intended, rather than having every single town with their different tax structures, you know, hitting solar companies in different ways, you know, you make a uniform payment in lieu of taxes that the state comes up with and they pay the town that. It doesn't apply to existing systems, usually because when you enact legislation that is substantive, it can't go retroactive. But there's another statute that they're saying is active as of October 1st, 2025, which is the grand list for this new fiscal year coming up. And if that exemption applies to the existing solar system, they can say we're exempt as of the grand list of that we're dealing with this year, to the tune of $16 million. Did they apply for the waivers that are part of that statute to your office?
The two systems that are in existence
Yes.
now,
Yes.
that would have been my predecessor, but I assume so.
Can you check into that? Because what I read in
know
the
that-
statute, that they have to apply for that
They do have to
waiver.
apply. There's one that's in ongoing litigation that was denied. The other one, I'm not positive. Did they work out an agreement with the
So
town?
we have three. Ella Wheel Road has
Right.
been paying. I think we have an agreement that was made when Sean Murphy was the first selectman.
Right.
Somewhere a little over $100,000, which has been paid each year. And that's a 20-year agreement. There's another solar farm on the Silicon Ranch, which is on Route 184. That's an 8.5 megawatt. And they have been paying, as far as I know, taxes up to this point. But the one Jen just talked about, it's in litigation. We're in litigation, and so is Stonington on the same company.
Right.
And that they're the ones that have not paid anything since they've started. And when Darrell was here, they did apply for a waiver that was denied by the assessor, our assessor at the time.
Right. I'm just saying, once this new rule went into effect for October 21st, 2025, from my reading of the statute, they would have to apply for a waiver to be exempt, or
It's a
else they're
one-time
waiving.
filing.
What's that?
It's a one-time filing. There was a recent case that went all the way up to the Supreme Court. It was Groton versus Fuel Cell Energy,
Okay.
or Fuel Cell Energy versus Groton, rather. Not a solar farm, dealing with renewable energy sources, the same statute though, same parameters. And in that decision, the Supreme Court ruled that once the right to the right to the exemption is established, no subsequent application for exemption is necessary unless they're adding to the system. So it's a one-time, they don't have to come in annually.
Understood, but if these companies were paying taxes previously and they're trying to, regardless, you're dealing with it with the legislatures. I know that I've already reached out to our legislature
Mhm.
legislator to find out what more details on this, because obviously, this would be a $16 million hit to the personal property taxes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so this net grand list would that go up by that $16 million?
If they were to pass something retroactively?
Yes. Or they could say that
If
this was
they
not
were-
intended.
If they are able to pass something, they would have to pass something similar to what they did last year with the veterans exemption that allows assessors to open up their grand lists, which are already filed, because the statutory deadline, if you're not getting an extension, is January 31st. Session only started today, so clearly they couldn't do something before. We had hoped that they would pull an emergency session. We hoped that maybe they would deal with it when they took up the affordability issue. Didn't happen. So if they were to fix this, they would have to pass something that allows assessors in each municipality to reopen the 2025 grand list and amend it.
Okay. All right. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
So right now we're just I'm sorry, go ahead, Gary.
So is this a one-time exemption or does it
No,
exemption
It's-
for the whole time? So
it's
the
in
ones that are-
perpetuity.
So
As
the
it's
ones that
written
are
right
here
now.
right now are going to pay zero.
If the law stays as it is right now, every piece of solar personal property is exempt as of October 1st to 25.
So they get away with everything.
But we have
Only
an
those
agreement-
systems, again,
Excuse me, we have an agreement where they're paying,
On the 19.5 megawatt on Ella Wheeler, we do.
so that is an agreement between
That's a
the
20-year
town.
agreement that was done with Sean Murphy, so I believe that's still intact.
Yeah, a lot of those exemptions, they allow towns to negotiate with the solar farms to come up with their own tax structure. You could give them a break for several years and we'll have you to entice them to come and things like that.
Right, I understand that, but I was just told, you just said that it's going to be exempt as of October. So we're not going to be able to tax them.
I think it would depend on the language that's included in the agreement. If in the language of the agreement, it was written up that future legislative changes wouldn't affect the agreement, then it wouldn't affect the agreement. But you'd have to check how it was actually written,
Who would check that?
whomever has,
Yeah,
I would assume the Board of Selectmen or Bob.
I would guess I would have to check.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's an ongoing conversation and will be, I know Jen's already on it and I'm certainly going to be pushing that as well. But let's just assume for our purposes as a Board of Finance that our net grand list is 935,919,296. Is that correct?
That would be my recommendation. And then hopefully it would be a pleasant surprise if we're
Okay.
able to get it back. The important thing to remember is any other systems that come in from this point forward will fall under the uniform capacity tax. This issue is only regarding the existing systems that are not that weren't negotiated separately.
Jen, can I just clarify, anything brand new in the future?
Correct.
This uniform capacity tax, is that a one-time payment? in
No, it's
lieu of-
annually.
Thank you.
It's annually July 1st, similar to tax payments. It would come
Okay.
directly to the town.
I just have one, sorry, I'm confused because like I said, it's two things that's happening, like because we moved to the capacity tax, that suddenly exempts everybody.
If they had written the language, so there's two separate things that they did. They created a uniform capacity tax, which will operate like a payment in lieu of taxes for new systems built and receiving permission to
Yeah.
operate after July 1st of 26. But if you're going to do that, you can't keep taxable solar personal property that's new on the grand list because that's going to generate a tax bill. So if they wrote it correctly, they would have exempted the personal property that goes along with these systems for the corresponding grand list to 7/1/26, which would be October 1st of 26.
So is that 16 million off the tax rolls? That's permanent, but they would be forced to start the capacity tax. No, I'm so confused. Why?
New
like, why-
systems, no new systems only.
So somebody who exists, like, I don't understand how that got zero.
If I come into town and I decide, or I'm going to build a solar farm here in North Stonington, if I get permission to operate from Eversource or whomever the powers are be that give that directive, let's say in September of 26. That's a new system that was not in place under the old law.
Right.
So that is going to fall under the uniform capacity tax.
But the old law, so the old law just went away. And so everybody that existed before the old law no longer has to pay anything.
So I guess
That
what
is
she's
how it's
asking is-
written right now.
Okay.
But that is how it's written right now.
All right. So there was some either poor writing or a weird loophole that was done on purpose.
It was not done on purpose. My understanding from the legislature, this was part of a huge energy omnibus bill that got passed right at the end of session. A lot of the matters that are handled with assessment aren't done in that committee. So
Okay.
their lawyers, the people that write their bills are not as familiar with assessment as the committees that typically handle assessment bills. So it was not intentional, and it was passed at the 11th hour, and they're aware of it and they would like to fix it.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
That makes more sense now.
Yep.
Thank you.
I want to change topics, so if there's more on this topic. Just, and this pales in comparison, but we have $300 million increase. You state that it's growth in the grand list largely due to the reval. Is there any way we can get a snapshot? I'm trying to sort of do a bottoms up build in my mind. How much was added to the grand list from the 14 houses and the 16 businesses prior to the reval? Because, you know, that's revenue that came in that we're going to sort of lose sight of in the grand mix of stuff. I kind of.
Not really. I mean, every business is different.
Yep.
I don't think any of the businesses that came in were huge monsters.
Right.
You know what I mean? We didn't have huge construction in a commercial vein. So if you think about, like, if you take the new houses that are being built on Norwich Westerly Road,
Yep.
for instance, a lot of them are selling for about 450,000.
Yep.
Under the old, like 2020 values, we wouldn't have touched that number at all.
Okay.
So it would really be minuscule.
Okay.
It wouldn't be that much of a factor.
But we had
To
a
drive
couple
it.
big ones going too, and that's kind of what I don't want to lose sight of. Anyway, I understand, I get it. It's minuscule for what you're dealing with, but
Well, I mean, in comparison to the value increase that we saw with the reval, if you're talking about it in terms of grand list impact, I mean, that will obviously be something that carries forward year to year.
Yep.
But to extrapolate it from the change from 24 to 25 is not going to be as meaningful, I think, as what happened with the values.
thank you.
But shouldn't we be keeping track of how much the grand list grows as a result of growth in town?
I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. I mean, we track the grand list. I report on the numbers.
Well, it would seem to me that it's an indicator as to the economic vibrancy of the town.
That wouldn't be the assessor's office job, I would say.
But understanding what happened and the amount of investment people have made in town, I think would be. So I'm not sure why that is the case.
So Lou, can I make a point? So any year that's not reval, that's exactly what happens. So last year when we had the grand list increase, that would be because there was no reval. So that's exactly what happens 4 out of the 5 years. And the 5th year when you reval, it's so huge, it just trumped everything else. So we could probably take the time to figure out how many houses and what the taxes are on each house. And if you average the average houses, you said, Gary, some bigger ones and some small ones. So let's say it's $7,000 per house times 14 houses. That's going to give you a ballpark of what that is. There was no significant commercial. There's businesses, but no significant commercial. Next year, when electric boat starts, which they're breaking ground on the 16th of March, and the new winery opens up, yeah, those are significant. But right now, what you're asking for is done every year, except the reval year. There's so much that goes that just trumps that number.
I would also just preface, though, to be clear, my function is the fair and equitable administration of the property tax in this town. What you're talking about is more of economic development and things that aren't really analyzed by my office. We track growth, just like Bob said, and every year when we're dealing with the same cost tables, it's much easier to be able to extrapolate that data. But that's not part of what the assessor's office would typically be tracking year to year in that nuanced and very specific, like drilling down to that level of data.
Well, I have to say, I don't think there's anything nuanced about it. It's just keeping a list of what new assets have come on board and have been assessed. So if it's a small amount for this year, because of, fine. But if we're doing that report every 4 years, don't understand why we just don't do it again in the 5th, to understand what kind of development.
So we don't do the report
Do
every
that.
4 years. It is what it is. Where we're assessing
Right.
new residential and new commercial,
Hmm.
and there's no reval that's going to skew it, right? So it's not like it's a separate report. It's what we do every year. It's just now she's adding in this giant reval to go with everything else.
No, okay, that's, I disagree on that, but that's all right.
But I think if you looked at last year's budget and saw the increase last year when there was no reval, it's probably going to be very similar to that increase. Because we had just about the same amount of houses built, same amount of commercial.
Right, and so all I'm saying is that ought to be a line item that just, we show that again. I don't think
It's the increase.
we get an increase, right, we get an increase the next year, but at least you'll get an idea about what new things have come to town.
So as Jen
That's what I
says, that's
think
more of
about.
a economic development committee, right? So EDC would do, because they want to be able to say, look at how much we've grown, look what's happened to our town. The assessor, that's not something she doesn't care about that. What she cares about is how much is everything that came in town, how much money does the town get for that?
She can provide the
So
data
yeah,
to
I think
them.
it's two
I think
different
we're getting
things.
off track here. We'll do this another time, but I don't understand where the Economic Development Commission would get that information.
They would get it from her, but they would do
Other than the
the,
assessor's
yeah, they would do the analyzation. So
That's all.
let
I'm
me,
getting.
one, before we just get off, and I think it's just on the relevant topic, like, on page 2 of the spreadsheet they gave us, you have it broken down residential, commercial. Did the commercial properties get reval as well?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, but I mean, commercial property values since COVID have not rebounded and haven't seen the same
So,
shift that
I
residential
think
has.
for, as far as new, that number, that commercial number, if you could just get me this page for 2024, or I'll look back, I'm sure we have it in my packet from last year from Daryl Lou. I'll look at that and see if there, if there's anything we can glean from that.
Just keep in mind, that those are 2020 values.
What's that?
Just keep in mind that that number from 2024 is going to reflect 2020 values.
Right. And as does this
No, this reflects 2025 values.
because of of
Because
the
it's a new
reval.
reval.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right. That reval versus this reval.
So
I
if that's
got you.
the only thing you're looking at, you're not going to be able to pull it out that way.
Right. I got you. I got you. Okay. And before we get off this topic, I just, I want to just let everyone know that's going to be presenting all year long. Jen, you're all set.
Oh, okay.
This is just a
Thank you,
soapbox. If we plug in this new net grand list into our normal spreadsheet that we use with our budget at the end of the year to determine what mill rate is going to cover our taxes along with all other revenue. If you keep everything static, meaning all other revenue, you just use last year's numbers and we use last year's expenditures numbers, and all it changes is the net grand list. To get a balanced budget, you're looking at 19.41 mils. Reduced from 28.88 down to 19.41. But, with people's property values going up, they're gonna see most likely increases in their overall taxes. It's not a one-to-one situation. So, and that's just for demonstration purposes. That's not the final number. You'll get that after the budgets go through, whether we know what all kinds of increases in revenue are other than the reval, the property taxes. But just from a starting point from where this Board of Finance starts, because the net grand list is the number one starting point, it doesn't go down as much as I would have hoped because particularly because you're losing that solar power tax. So I just want everyone that are presenting their individual budgets to understand, it's a tough year and people are going to be looking with a fine, with a magnifying glass at what we do. So keep that in mind. With that, we'll go on to the next agenda item, which are the budget presentations. Logan? Thank you, Jen. Did we get bumped off? We're sharing screens, is that what we're doing?
Right. Hello,
All right, all
everyone.
set? Go ahead, Logan. Thank you.
I hope everyone's doing good this evening. So I'm here to present our 2026-2027 budget request. I just want to let everybody know before I get too far into it, we're not asking for an increase. We're going to hold exactly where we're at. And I just want to thank you for everything you guys did for us last year. You took a big stress off of our shoulders, and we're actually getting to focus on what we need to focus on instead of counting every single day how many pennies I need to move over. So we'll get started with the budget. If you wouldn't mind going to the next screen. So the total call volume for 2025 was 1,007 calls, which is a 6% increase from last year. Normal dispatch to response time when my crew signs on the air is 3 minutes and 35 seconds, and on scene to almost every address in town in 8 minutes and 51 seconds. Additional services that we provided to the town this year was standby for Wheeler High sporting events and a standby for the North Stonington Fair. At this time, our current staffing levels is 7 full-time employees, 10 per diem employees, and 1 active volunteer that's actually volunteering on the ambulance. Part of those 7 full-time employees have broke off to what we are referring to a hybrid schedule. So they're working 24 hours on, 72 hours off, which means I have 1 full-time employee that has been working here in the town for 3+ years. So they know the layout and geographics of the town. So it just adds that extra safeguard that they know where they're going and they know what they're supposed to be doing at all times. So we have been providing 24-hour service, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is our 4th year of not missing a single first due call in the town of North Stonington. Other public outreach programs that we have established over the past 2 years is a SAFE program, which is a senior accessibility fall evaluation program. I put it out in the town paper, offering it to the public. No one has asked me to come to do an evaluation yet, but that system is in place and ready to go if anybody ever needs it. File of life, we carry on the ambulance. It's a magnet it's a red file. It has your name, social security number, date of birth, medications, known medical history, allergies. So that way, if we come to your home or we're requested to your home and you're unable to answer us, your family doesn't know what's going on, we can look on the fridge. If that red file is there, we take it out. We know exactly what your medical history is and what could possibly be going on. We have been participating in collaboration with the fire department for Wheeler High School outreach program, as well as this year we had 2 senior projects done. Last year we had 1 senior project done. It's been a really enjoyable experience to see somebody be actually interested in my line of work. So last year we wrote off 96,880,032 cents. We successfully discharged and forgave those bills for all residents in town that could not pay their ambulance bill with very small limitations on that, which we discussed last year. Whereas if the insurance company sent them the money and they never paid their ambulance bill, that does not count towards that. So this year for 2025, we currently have $66,495.48 of open bills. We are prepared this year again to discharge those as well under the same rules and guidance, with the outstanding balance of non-town residents of $155,009.30. And I'm sure you all know where most of those come from. With that,
we'll get to that.
yes. With that being said, the Stonington Institute was 394 calls for service this year. Last year they were at 450, so that's a 56 drop in calls since last year. Bob and I have met a few times. We met with the Stonington Institute once, and we also met with Heather Summers to discuss what we could possibly do to help aid the town and help funding us, because we're there so much. I do believe in the future we're going to be setting up another meeting with Heather Summers, the Institute. I'm also going to get OEMS, which is who gives us our main guidance, Department of Public Health, and other officials involved. I want to sit down and have one big meeting and figure out what we can do to try to avoid going there 394 times this current year. Oh, no, that slide, sorry. So this is our synopsis report. Of course, I can't see that far because I didn't write it big enough. So this year, non-billable, I can't see that number.
Neither can John.
Logan, that mic, you can take that mic with you.
Oh, I feel like I'm on a talk host. So non-billable this year was $396,179.27. That was the insurance company that deemed that we cannot bill that out. So that's money that we're never going to recover at this point. We did receive $286,103.81 in billing. And we have an open balance of $167,757.50 left in pending bills, or payments rather. Now, some of that could be deemed as non-billable, where it's just the way that they work through the bills. I just want to show everything so that way you guys know exactly what I'm looking at when I'm looking at our billing income. For 2024, 2025, our billing income was $304,236.50. We paid our billing agent fee, which is charged at 6% of our collection, $18,235.35. And we paid bundle billing. Bundle billing is when we have to intercept with a paramedic that can provide a higher level of care. So we pay them a percentage for all Medicare and Medicaid bills. So that way, each of us get half of the money, basically, is how it's billed out. And that was at $6,610.78. So the total income for 2024, 2025 was $279,390.37 after paying the billing agency and paying our bundle billing payments. So I've always been open and honest with all of you. I want you to know exactly where we're at. So starting at the top, the general account is $4,342. I don't know if you guys remember last year, that number was much bigger. But we hired a bookkeeper to help keep our books straight. And so that way I can have actual numbers when I need them. So it was a recommendation to us to hold all the town funds in a separate account, move it into the general account when it's time to pay things out to keep everything secure. The billing account currently has $86,290.77. The online account is how we pay online bills, which currently has $2,773. Donations account is the same as last year, $5,099.43. And the business account was opened. It's a new account to hold the town's fund. We just received that in January. That's our second half. And that is at $175,566.35. So what I've been doing is I've been using the town fund 100% for payroll. So when payroll comes up, I move it from the general account or from the business account into the general fund to pay payroll. We also started with a new payroll company to take the liability of doing our own payroll off of our shoulders. I know that was a recommendation a couple of years ago. So we got on board with that. So we're able to manage everything a little bit better and it's not all on us all the time. So the business account is used for the town funding that gets moved in for payroll, and our general operations comes right out of the billing account. So we move that into the general account when we need to pay to have a truck fixed, an oil change, medical supplies, oxygen, and so on. So like I said at the beginning of our presentation, our request this year is the same as last year. I feel very confident. You can go to the next slide, please. I feel very confident in the organization, in the well-being at this point in time to not ask for an increase because I feel like we're going to be stable enough to provide our own increase for the raise this year with the billing account the way that it is at this point in time. I feel very confident in the organization at this point to be able to handle that on our own without having to come back and ask for an allocation of funds. It's pretty exciting. This year is actually our 55th years of service anniversary. So we're very proud of that and very proud to be part of this great organization that was founded in 1970. That was also in the town paper newsletter. So that was pretty cool to put in. And at this time, I will take any questions.
Logan, refresh my memory, the appropriation that you came to us, it was this past fiscal year.
Yes.
So can you refresh my memory again of the amount?
Yes. So we requested $78,000 and I do believe we returned $38,000.
Okay. So with that, does the 392,249 include the appropriation?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, that was
like a one-time thing.
That was
So
a one-time thing
you're-
because we were going to run short on payroll.
Payroll. Okay. All right. So you feel you've said it over and over.
I'm very confident.
Okay.
I am
right.
very, very confident in our organization.
All right. Thanks.
Sorry, did you have a slide for us, the percentage of calls you got to this past year? Was that in the first
Oh,
slide?
that was the first slide.
Yeah, okay,
It was 1,007 calls this year.
okay. Out of how many? You got them all or
Oh, the
90?
percentage of calls that we made,
Yeah.
we made a majority of them. There was only like 30 that went to mutual aid, and most of those is because we were at the Stonington Institute.
Okay, to his point, we want to make sure that,
Absolutely.
those calls are met at a much higher rate than, I guess, historically. And for the past several years that they seem to have been.
Yes, sir. And our response times are under the average of what they're supposed to be.
Okay,
So average for the state is out the door within 4 minutes. Some companies get 7, they get 8. It's all on the chief of service on when they get dispatched, as long as they roll out the door and they respond to a call. That's at the determination of the chief. We keep our staff pretty accountable for what they're doing when they're in the building. They know that there's an expectation to be out the door as soon as possible and to get on scene as soon as possible in a safe manner.
Logan, what's the status of the old ambulance building?
So they did get, so this is not really my thing. This is the board's thing.
Yep.
To my knowledge, they did receive the deed.
Nice.
Money was approved at the last meeting to hire somebody to come out and appraise it.
Okay.
And I do believe they're going to list it for sale.
Oh, perfect. Congratulations getting the title.
Thank you. I had nothing to do with it, but I'll pass that along.
Logan, I don't necessarily want to get into major detail, but Stonington Institute, is there any opportunity to partner with Mashantucket to split those calls, or is that not how Mashantucket
So
functions?
Mashantucket they hire a third-party service. They hire American Ambulance to come out and do it. And American Ambulance is
They're
not
not gonna touch
interested.
it, yeah.
They do come out for our paramedic intercepts as much as we can ask
Yeah.
them. That's the most that we can really ask of them.
Okay. I would love.
It's in our PSA, so it falls on as our responsibility.
Yeah.
So the frustration is we're getting called to do transport and we're not supposed to be getting calls to do transport.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be calls when there's an emergency. We've met with at the time, the director there. We have a meeting in about 2 weeks with the owner who owns multiple facilities like that. And Heather Summers had set that up for us. The thing is when we have an ambulance up there, then they're not taking care of the taxpayers. And as soon as we're paying the bill, we're paying these taxes to help to keep the ambulance going. So if we've got somebody on Town Wheel Road that needs an ambulance and we're stuck up there and we're getting there and we're finding out that I think they've helped a little bit now since we had the last meeting up there where identifying the buildings and we were going up there, they couldn't even tell us what building to go to. Then the doctors are telling us that what we to do because they're trying to take over where Logan's guys are the ones that should be running the scene. And we don't want to just transport that. They were giving us bags of clothes to take, like we're transporting the patient and all his belongings. So it was a mess and we've started to clean it up. But I think we're getting even the reduced calls have come down some.
Yes.
There seems to be more direction, but meeting with the owner in a few weeks is going to really, I think, fine tune this. And I just want to let him know my concerns from the selectman's office is I can't take care of our regular taxpayers if we're up there all the time. And then even then, we're only getting a portion of that. Not that the money's the most important thing. Service is the most important. Money secondary, but they're both important. But we're getting being paid for half of what we should be paid, and we're leaving our own people have to go to mutual aid. It's not viable. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys are addressing that because I've heard that from concerned people. So it's definitely a big issue.
And when we talked and we met with Heather, we talked about some kind of compensation. When I came down to talk to Bob a couple weeks ago, I'm really stressing when I say stressing, but like my brain goes 1,000 different places when we get multiple calls. My primary concern with the Institute is having somebody available while the school is in session. And that's my top priority. A couple of years ago, we did unfortunately have a school bus accident. Luckily, we weren't at the Institute and I was able to come off the ambulance and Dan was able to take my place. So that way I could handle the large amount of patients that we had all at once. And I try to send that home as much as I possibly can. That's one of my biggest concerns is that something is going to happen at the school and we're not going to readily have a second ambulance or somebody the fire department is staffed, but somebody to respond on our behalf.
Anything else from the board? Or the board of selectmen?
No, we're off to a good start of unchanged budget. Thank you for starting us off on the right foot.
And so in the audience, I encourage you to, meet with Logan and get any other concerns you have met. And you're welcome to stay for public comment at the end if you want to, unless you have something specific right now. Okay, thank you. All right, Rec Commission.
Hi, I'm Jim Holdridge. I am the chairman of the Board of Recreation. We do have a little bit of a increase, just to help you out. We're B16. We went up a little bit with the director salary because before there was a different line item for $1,300 for vehicle and phone, and the last selectman group thought that that should be taken out, so we put it into his salary. Program expense, we went down, primarily because some of the programs we've downgraded because the participation isn't there. Maintenance is the same. The summer camp salaries, because our state went up in minimum wage, so we had to kind of counteract that. Administrative fees stay the same, and the rec building expense went up a couple $1,000s, mainly because of the increase in power and telephone and internet. Are there any questions?
Bob, just one of the things that I thought was really helpful, I'd like to tour the rec building again. I know.
Are you on, Nicole?
Great. Am I on? I think so.
Is that
Can you
mute?
hear me?
Okay.
I just, oh, heavens to Betsy.
So we still have Wi-Fi issues with regard to keeping on Zoom.
We can.
Oh, so
Yeah.
I can talk. I just, the
Yeah, go ahead.
condition of the rec building.
Yes.
It's, a couple of years ago, we were concerned, we toured, there's clearly there's issues, just you feel you have right now. I mean, I just think maybe Bob, if we can set up a time when the three of us can do another tour of the building, just to kind of see the status of it.
Sure, and if we want to bring the fire department association, into, and then we can just all have a conversation, and if there's any things, at least then we can all get it kind of not resolved, but go into the right direction.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Okay.
As far as the structure goes, we,
As far as the structure goes, Alan just toured that with the fire company about 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, we have a list. So we're constantly staying on the structure itself.
Mhm.
So if this might,
Okay, that's good.
along that line, you're referring to the old firehouse.
yes,
I'm asking about the shed,
The shack, the rec
the
shack?
shack.
Yep.
That's up by the tennis courts. And you should stop and take a look at those
we
two.
just got a quote on a new
So-
roof and new.
What are we doing with that?
After our conversation, soccer game.
Yep.
We had implemented and we had talked to Bob about getting the roof repaired and the siding, and also it was brought to my attention the pavilion needed to be a new roof. So we're getting prices for roofs, and Bob has volunteered Alan's services to do the siding and painting.
I know, no.
Alan wins again.
To do any carpentry work.
Yes,
not the
carpentry work.
painting,
The
not
side,
the
yeah.
No painting.
Bob, do those
Sorry, Alan.
constitute, Alan, are those town structures that we could use the town maintenance but line items? Okay, thanks.
So, but the roofing won't be on Alan's preview, that we have quotes out, getting quotes in, and then we're gonna be presenting them to the Bob and whoever else.
But that's not in this budget.
No, because that falls under a different line item that
We have capital in the, that's already been pre-approved.
Okay,
pre-approved capital for that.
good, thank you.
Any other questions?
So just so everyone's clear here and in the audience.
Yep.
Your budget increase is 1,306. That's what I come up with math.
No. Yeah, 2,000 and some change.
Oh, okay.
Mainly because of the summer camp and the the stipend was added to that because that was a different line item.
Yeah, so I'm confused too. So on the second, on page 2,
Yes.
the FY 25-26, I'm seeing 140,580, and then the proposed 26-27, 141,886. Is that the delta we're talking about? No? Oh,
It's on the third page.
oh,
There's even more.
It's actually the fourth page.
Fourth page. Fourth page.
Yeah, so do you mind just from the 141,886, what else gets added to that to get to 173,623?
That's that page right there. You got the 30, the salary, the program, all of the 16s all get added up to 173,623.
No, okay, but these numbers right, these numbers right here do not add up to 173. Right?
Well,
100.
What I'm seeing is the
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's so 6 is empty. Okay, so 16,6 is 0. So 16,5 is the 15,9.
If you take that 141,886 and then add the director's salary, that comes up to 173,623.
Wait, where's the director's salary? I'm sorry.
That's on that's fourth page, B16.00.
Oh, so 16,0 is not on the list? Is that
Correct.
what you're saying? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Right, so total is 173,623, up from 178,06.
Yes.
and if you were asked to cut it,
If we
And-
cut it, we're gonna probably have to look at the programs list
Program.
like some more. But that's also, that's that dollar amount. But then when you do your figures and everything, with all our programs, our estimated revenue was $96,000 and $800. $96,800 revenue come back to the town. Now, the town gets either 10% or 15% of that because of our contracts. Because we have contracts, and if they're doing a program and not using a building, we're charging them 10%. If they're using the building, it's an added 10% plus the 5% to cover costs of the building. So that's not,
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
okay, for all programs
Yep.
that are not run by the rec, as
Not,
far as
okay.
soccer, basketball, stuff like that, that independent people, if it's run by independent people, we have to have them sign a contract. And if they are not using a facility, they're charged 10% of that contract comes back to the town to cover costs for papers and whatever else. If they're using the building, they get that 10% plus 5% to cover the building.
So if someone, just to pick on the yoga,
Yep.
the person doing that, running that program.
Correct.
Are they getting the 11,000?
No, they're,
That's 10% of what they're getting.
they're getting they're getting 85% of that.
Okay, that's what I meant. So the gross sales for the yoga program is $11,000.
Roughly, yes.
Roughly.
Yep.
Okay. In the town, in this case, because they use the building,
Yes.
they would get 15% of that. And the
The
instructor
town
would
gets-
get the back, and the person
Correct.
running it would
Gets
get
the
difference.
85%. Yep.
Okay. So we're not getting, there isn't a 90, we don't get $96,000. We're getting 10 or 12.5%.
Well, it's because these programs are kind of a wash. The
Mhm.
people that are doing the programs, it goes into the account. And we propose, we're gonna get 96,000 and then we have to pay out of that. Then
To them.
they get it out. So
Okay.
it's kind of a. Right.
Okay.
Last year, we started at 10 and 15% with the contracts.
A quick question.
Yes.
On the second page of the itemization, I see that there's a custodian bill for 3,500 and then about 10 rows down, there's a cleaning service for 3,640. What's the difference?
Okay,
between the two of
custodian
those?
is for if we have a program in the school on a weekend, we have to pay for the custodian.
So that's,
If the Board of Ed gives us a bill for it, we have to pay for the custodian there.
so that's if the program is in the school.
Correct.
Okay, and then the cleaning service is for,
Is for the
Rec
rec buildings and whatever else.
okay, thank you.
How many programs do you have at the school?
What do we have? Just one right now, right? Tiny Tots? Oh, drama. The drama is there, probably two.
Okay.
But the drama usually isn't on the weekend, so we don't have to pay for the custodian that time.
Okay.
But the Tiny Tots is on the weekend, and so we have to
Okay.
plan on it, whether they give us a bill or not.
Yep.
So Jim, just so we're all clear.
Yep.
Would I be correct in saying that the estimated revenue
Yes,
is netted out of your expenses?
no,
Or no?
that's what the program, if the program, like say yoga, and they have $11,000 come in, the participants pay $11,000.
Right.
And that's what that is. That's all that is. And that's what we're expecting, the $11,000. And so then a lot of, so we have to plan on that as income, but then it's not really income because then it comes out another pot, it goes back out. You understand what I'm trying to say? It's hard for me to-
Yeah, I just want to make sure that,
Yep,
it's all, when you say it comes back to the town, so we have in our budget, we have revenue sources.
Yep.
And we have expenses.
Mhm.
And to your point that if you do cut programs, you then not only, you're not necessarily saving that stuff because you might lose out on revenue that would otherwise cover those costs.
yes,
So if you have an expense budget of 173,623,
right,
but you bring in revenue of 96,800,
correct.
would you say that your overall budget would be the difference between the revenue and the expenses?
Yes.
That's the bottom line that we need to know.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everybody?
10 or 15%, that it depends on the program, on what they do.
Right, so at the 96,000,
You could.
figure 10% of that is what stays,
10%.
you're gonna keep, instead of paying all that out.
Right,
So
you're
you're
gonna,
taking in 96, you're paying out bills, and you're keeping 10%.
to play it safe, the town
Huh?
keeps,
Goes into, yeah, goes into
yeah,
town.
so you could, rough thing, you got possibly $9,600 coming back to
Yeah,
the town.
coming back to town.
Is that what you're asking, Mike? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just making sure, it's a big picture question. We have expenses of 173, we have revenue projected of 96. It really costs budget wise, the
60.
difference between that. And if,
Right. In the case of the yoga, there's an instructor. But in the case of the youth soccer, it's 80 times 75. That's 80 kids times 75.
Yep.
So
goes all right to the town, or basically it goes right to the town. Except for there are some expenses like referees and
Line striping, worst job ever. Right, Tom? I'm looking at this and it's only one place that we can cut. All right, anything else, guys?
Any other questions? No? All
Okay,
right, thank you very much.
thanks, Jim. Public Works.
And Mike,
Yes,
in that pile of paperwork, you'll see the stuff for the.
I see that, yep. Yeah, I understand. Everyone, we got paperwork on the volunteer fire company that's gonna be for February 18th.
Al, before you start, I just want to thank you and please extend the thanks to your team for the phenomenal job during the storm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, great job.
Use more salt on the northwest corner.
Very. It's actually very cheap right now. Oh, they said in 15 years it's going to be horrible. So Scara does that for us. Yeah. We definitely don't want to haul it out of state. I can tell you that much. That's, oh yeah. Ohio and Pennsylvania are the biggest ones. So it's huge. Oh yeah. We do now. Everybody gets their own barrel. You ready?
we go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No problem. So this is the Public Works budget, and transfer station as well. B27 through B27.29. 29 and 28, as you'll
Now,
see.
just make sure the mic's up near your face so everyone can.
How's
yep,
that? Better?
Thank you.
So you will see 28 and 29 are two new line items. I'll explain that when we get further on in. That's why it goes a little different than last year. This is just a quick blurb of the town, 55 square miles, 64 miles of road. Everybody's pretty much seen this from when Donnie gives this presentation. I just copy and pasted it. It's a pretty good one. I have new pictures though, Gary. You can, yeah, one of the new trucks. It's a shiny truck. That was the day it came in. It does not look like that now. It did get washed. It might look like that today. John, go to the next one. So this was the new graph I got. I did the actuals from last year with the proposed for this year with the differences. There is a couple of big ones. You'll notice the salary increase one, B2706. There is diesel and gas, obviously. And then the state roads one. Sorry, I missed that. I'm jumping back up. Other than that, a couple of them went down. Back down to the labor one, B2708. It was up a little bit. The highway overtime, I jumped back up only because the last 2 years we have gone back over again, over budget with the snowstorms we've had this year, especially so far. The supplies line, it says 45,000 from last year. I proposed 33,000 with a deduction of 12,000. I brought that 12,000 down to 2728, and that was for clarity for you guys. That stipends and benefits will cover, that line item is going to cover the food for snowstorms, the eyeglasses, which is in the union contract, the shoe money and clothing allowance, that's also in the union contract. So rather than it just go in the supply line and get varied with all the other supplies, it's more clarify for you guys. As well as a tuition reimbursement. That is a fixed fee of 7,500 in the union contract. It's going to offer 3 employees to get reimbursement of training that they can use on the job of $2,500 each. There's more clarification of that in the union contract. When we get a copy, we will, you guys are offered to it. I believe it's on the website, or will be, it's not yet. So that would be an increase of the public works. Sorry, the difference is 138,616.99, as you'll see in the right-hand column, with a few deductions as we didn't use as much, and a couple other little changes other than that. Any questions on that?
Alan, just a statement. So
Yep.
on B 2701, there's also a revenue line with that for the same amount of 79,802. So even though we have to carry it in the expense side, it's offset, the exact amount is in the revenue side as we get money from the state. So that number of 138,616 actually can be reduced by 79,802
Yep.
because of the revenue line.
Yeah, the couple slides down, you'll see that again. I just say it again, but that is good. The transfer station, obviously, as you'll see, the transfer station wages of 2717 also increases as the union contract. The transfer station overtime, as we are back to full staff, hopefully will go down a little bit. So there won't be as much overtime to fill positions on Saturdays. The survey stayed the same. State licensing, we had a deduction. We think we over budgeted the last few years. We've done that, so we brought it down a little bit to stay a little closer. The scare tipping fees, it's a big increase. You'll see in the next slide that our prices change yearly as it goes up with everything else, sadly. It'll explain a little further on. You'll see why it's such a big increase. You can see the last few years of what it's looked like in the last couple of years. The scare recycling fee stays, we dropped that down to, or sorry, stayed the same. Hazardous waste, I did drop that. We don't have any fees for hazardous waste collection day. Scare covers that. So I didn't see a need to keep the $500 in there. The operating expenses, we stayed the same. The office supplies I did drop because we did not spend as much as we needed to last year there, which was a plus, or as much as we did before. As well as the contractual services. We signed a contract with Overhead Door to save a little bit of money per each hour. Anytime a door breaks, to save a little money, we signed that contract with them because we get a better rate. Any questions on that?
Isn't that for,
GEI.
okay.
So that's for the bulky waste, to see the water table, see if it's
Right, so
contaminated
somebody-
anyway.
It's still being done, but.
Yes.
Okay, so-
Yep, it's still there.
Thank you.
Yep.
So
Alan, can you just give me a really simplified explanation for the, not explanation, but educate me a little bit on the scare tipping fees?
The next 2 slides
Oh,
will help that.
perfect,
Hopefully they can help that.
And just what, so you're thinking about it while you're going over that, we changed the way we operate. We got our own compactors. We were transporting stuff. Where is that in this whole budget thing?
So I need to sit down and do the complete numbers. I haven't yet, as we've been a little crazy. But with the repair bills have gone down quite a bit as the trucks and trailers are not breaking down as much. The fuel bill might have gone up a little bit more, but we also saved in the rental fees from Casella. We were paying a large amount to Casella every year for the rental of the
Right. Is that
containers.
reflected anywhere in this whole thing?
It's not at the moment. I have to go through those numbers separately so I can see the actual differences. I did not put it in this budget yet.
Okay. Would that reduce your budget?
I think it's going to keep it a little bit lower, but not huge noticeably. I do think a little bit though.
But Mike, didn't we do that last year? I think that's why, because we did a lot of that in last year's budget, not this year's budget. So it shouldn't be that different than last year, correct? But we made the transition last year's. budget.
Right, we did.
Okay.
Everything dropped from last year
Okay.
somewhat
From the year before.
till the tipping knees hit. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. They're going to hit worse the farther we go. These actual numbers you'll see in the columns are tonnages with contractors in. So whether it be you get household pickup or a dumpster at your own house, these tonnages include that in it because we pay the bill and then we get reimbursed later by the contractors that work in town. So this graph is kind of a little crazy, but trash is up a little bit in town, sadly.
So wait. Say again what you just said.
So these tonnages that are shown in this graph include, like say CWPM or Casella. We pay for their trash to get dumped and then we get reimbursed after the fact.
So if you have trash, so this is not just at the transfer station. This is all trash picked up and the transfer station.
Correct. This is all trash in town. No matter it's picked up at your house or you drop at the transfer station. It includes everybody. The school, they have dumpsters. This includes all contractors right here.
So I've been waiting for 3 days to ask you this question. Do you have data on the town's recycling tonnage?
Yes, I do. I do have tonnage reports that I can get for you.
Because this gives me severe heartburn. This is freaking terrible.
Yes.
This is going this is awful.
So honestly, I only see the trash side because Scara covers the cost for the recycling. And then Casella, because they get our recycling, they're the ones that make the money off it because they're the ones that separate it, package it, and resell it to say Coca-Cola. They sell the glass or the plastic back to Coke or Pepsi. They're the ones that make the money on it because we don't have to mess with it. That's why we do single stream. So cardboard, paper, as you all know, everything goes in one container, gets brought to Casella. They spent, I don't know how many millions on a new machine that shreds it all and separates it all. And then they package it and ship it out and then resell it again to get reused. So it doesn't cost us any money. We just have to get it to them, whether we pay Casella to haul it like we did before, or we run our own truck to do it. It has to get to them. And then they pay the dump. Scara pays the dumping fee. Sorry. So I can get the tonnage report if you'd like to see that.
I would love to see that. I mean, yeah, just personally, I want to see those numbers, but as a town and as a citizen and just as a human, these numbers should really make all of us lose sleep at night because this is not the direction that we need to be heading. The numbers, we should be going down and our recycling numbers should be going up. This is a real problem for all of us. And this is super bad. Throwing away 25% more garbage is not what we should be doing. So, and it's costing us a lot more money. So
yeah, absolutely. And I actually get now with the new system at Casella, there's cameras in there that watch. So anytime somebody dumps, and they do an audit every 3 months on all 12 towns in Scara, and we will get charged per how much recycling is in the trash compared to the trash in the recycling. So if somebody starts throwing away more recycling in the trash, we're going to see the recycling change to a drop compared to an increase that we're recycling less or more. But the more trash is in the recycling that Casella has to pull out, we get charged for. So you'll see our rate, say next year, they're allowed to go a percentage higher. So cleaner recycling is better, 100% better, because we will get charged less. I do get a quarterly report. I just got my second one since they've started this program, and we're actually up this time from where we were last quarter. I can actually ask Scara for the reports and get further on into it. And like I said, that also includes, say, Casella when they haul recycling. So they bring a trash truck in, then 2 days later, I think it is, they do recycling. If that recycling is dirty from the homeowner making it dirty, you'll actually get charged. We will get charged for it because we pay initially for it, and then they pay later for it.
So Winona, we've been lobbying the state. I don't know if this might make you feel worse, but we actually the state of Connecticut sends millions of tons of trash to the state of Ohio on trains. So we have a plant in Lisbon that we bring. It's an incinerator plant. There's going to be building one in Preston. That should open up in about 2 or 3 years. The one in Preston.
remodel new, I think.
But
they're
when they
still working
closed
through it.
Mira up in the greater Hartford area, it just caused this great, we've got more trash than we can handle. So, yeah, there's education, but I mean, there's people that don't even do single stream recycling. We basically have to tell people that if we see it happen, Donna and Willie are supposed to tell them, you can't do that. You know, and we can actually ban them from the transfer station if it keeps happening. So, but that's an education that's going to take a long time because we've gone backwards a little bit on it, I think.
Yeah, and I know Scara had tried to reach out a few times to the school. They'll do, like, if we say, hey, if Troy said, hey, the school wants to do a recycling like seminar with all the kids, they'll go to all the classes and do a seminar and give them a little squeak toy or something, and they do all kinds of stuff. The Scara website's really cool if you guys haven't checked it out. There's actually some games on there the kids can play where you can recycle. I got playing around with it a couple days. It's pretty neat. You can do a lot of stuff on there. They are up, especially with all the new robotic stuff. I know the town of East Lyme is one of the towns in Scara. They pick up their own trash from households, driveways. They actually got in with the robotics company and they have a camera on the truck. So the residents get charged. As soon as that container's tipped, they know if it's metal, a TV, it's all AI generated. They know every house and you get a postcard the first time, the second time you get charged. So we take it up there. So that's why they do the audits. So they see a full 30-yard container and they go through it and give me percentages of how dirty it actually is. So it's pretty neat.
So Alan, as bad as the 405,361 looks, there's
Yes.
also a revenue side to that too.
There's a good revenue to that one.
And that's 344,258.
Yep. So this is the last few years of tonnage cost as it goes up. So this year, as of like the load we dumped yesterday, we paid 75.06 per ton when we dropped at the Lisbon incinerator. As of July 1, 26, that is not a 16. I am way back in time. We will pay 83.10 for the tonnage. There will be a small increase to that for administrative costs to the contractors that do dump under our permit. So CWPM, Casella, Perkins, whoever's under our contract will see a little bit of increase from that. With that 405, 361, I had in that line item. You will see, like Bob said, that 344, 258 as a return.
Alan, do they only go up once a year?
Yes. Yep. So we have a contract with Lisbon Incinerator, I think for another 5 years, I believe. I'm trying to remember now as I got my years messed up. And I think they've already started negotiations with that now. So, because it's a big thing. We supply a lot of tonnage with the 12 towns to Lisbon. So.
Has the stickers helped us at all?
They have. I've seen a lot less bulky waste, which has been very handy. There is a revenue to that as well, to that line item. I don't remember the A number at this point.
We're averaging about 28,000 because we prorate each year. So it's level.
Yeah.
So we bring in about, 50 something thousand in year one and 10,000 year two. So we average like 28,000 per year because we'll move some of the money to the next year. So it's more of a flat line estimate on revenue.
Okay.
But
I
that's
was more
just the
interested in to
stickers,
keep
though.
people out of there that
Yeah.
weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, which has helped quite a bit. I don't know what the sticker count's at this year, but we're getting up there again, which is good.
I'm confused. Either Bob or Alan could take this one. Sticker revenue. I thought that was going to cap the landfill when we close it.
No, so that's in the capital budget. We put money aside towards closing the bulky waste pile. We do that through capital. I think we did it at 25,000 a year the first 4 years and 15,000 last year. But the sticker fees go into the town general fund. That they don't go directly to it's not the same as the money we put away towards bulky waste.
Okay.
So you get sticker fees, which average about 60,000 every 2 years. Then we have bulky waste, which averages about 10,000 a year roughly. But as Alan said, the best thing about that was it slowed down the pile from growth. So what we might have had to do 10 years from now, we might not have to do now for another 15 years.
Thanks.
Alan,
Yes.
the bulky waste that you're sending up to Lisbon, do you have a minimum?
No bulky waste to Lisbon.
Trash goes up there. Is there a minimum that you have to get there? And the reason I'm asking that is if we do if they do the new contract and see that we've increased and tell you it has to be this much and we decrease it, do we get charged extra?
So that is throughout the 12 towns, not
Not
just
in
us.
particular, just here.
Yes, so that includes all 12 towns part of the SCARA.
Yeah.
I knew years ago they did have a problem with that. I was not here for that, so I don't know what the consequences were for that, to be honest.
Okay, thank you.
There is a promised tonnage though, yes, that SCARA says, yes. So the new proposed budget is $2,240,892.28 with revenue from line A510 with the contractor tipping fees, like we had talked about, of $344,258. With the budget line item being B2721 of the 405,362. Also SCARA tipping fees. There's also revenue from A3.00 and A3.01 to offset the B2700 and the B2701. That's LOSIP and state aid road as their state and federal money that comes to us. There is.
We don't know what those are yet.
What's that?
We don't know what those are.
The governor's budget came out today, but it won't stay that way. We had a small decrease in revenue, but I think we made an extra $100 in LoSiP.
Yeah.
But they took away $2,000 in adult education, and I just saw it this afternoon, so it was a small decrease, but the legislature will change that. That's just, the governor throws it out when he makes his state address, which he did today.
Okay.
So I believe we went off last year's numbers, hoping they'd stay the same. I know there was a little increase. Me and Bob had talked about. Hopefully we'll get better numbers shortly. So you will see the scrap metal from A5.00 as revenue to the town, as well as the transportation stickers from A501 and the bulky waste fees that we charge to residents as A5.02 as revenue from the transfer station.
About how much is that?
What's that?
About how much is this? Because you don't have any A line items in here. So I'm just curious.
So it changes. The scrap metal depends on how much people bring to the transfer station, throw away rather than go themselves. And the stickers, I'm going to expect to be the same as last year. I don't
Stickers are
expect
going to be
any
around
change.
28,000, Sarah.
Yeah,
I think if you've got last year's numbers in that book in front of you,
We do not.
you don't have
We
in
only-
in
We only
the
have,
book.
we only have B line items, unless it's in another,
So
at
if
least
you
in
look
his
at,
presentation. We
no,
only
if
have
you look
B
at the
line
last
items.
year final budget, which is in the book in front of you, the binder, it will have the numbers be almost as identical.
so scraps like 15,000. Transfer station stickers is in here at 33,000. Bulky waste fees is 14,000, and the actuals from 24-25 was 11,690. And then the last one is the contractor tipping fees was 250 last year. 267, 293.17 from 24-25. We proposed 250, but that changed a little bit because tipping fees went up quite a bit. And that's all on an average of the return compared to what gets dumped at Lisbon. So I took, Melissa and I took the last 6 months and averaged it across, and hopefully that's what it's going to be. That would be the ADA trail that we installed this year. Not that one. That one is new. That is why it is now snow covered. Yes,
So
Oh, I thought it was
it's not quite sand.
just to wrap it up, just looking at the numbers, Alan, on Public Works, it's a 9.3% increase, just doing the math.
I got 11.
The
Yeah,
only
11
real line items that were the increase would be the
overall,
B2729, which is new.
that divided by the,
That's divided by that.
not by that, do with the other number, the smaller number.
Okay.
And the transfer station's up 24%. And I want to preface that by saying, obviously, there's revenue sides that offset that. I think as we go through this process, given the fact where we are,
Yep.
it might be prudent for you to say, to be able to tell us later on if the Board of Selectmen decide that your budget is not where it should be, that you have those percentages. What is the actual percentage given because it's in different areas. Most of it's probably in the,
The only,
like, all your LoCIP stuff is in that 9, would offset that 9%.
Yep.
And all the transfer station stickers and other things related to the trash would offset your 24%. It might be good to have.
Yep.
What you're arguing for.
Yeah.
For increases.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I mean, the only two items that had gone up would be the tipping fees and then the contractual stuff for the union. Other than that, I don't think there's any other increases there.
Okay.
Same thing with the with the highway garage. The only increases there would be the wages in the union, the tuition reimbursement, and then the only difference was the overtime. That is the difference.
Okay.
So we don't go over again.
So the thing that I think it's important for this board to know and other people, because we do this with the Board of Ed too, is what's contractual, where we don't, it's not like, hey, I want to relate a raise. You got contractual obligations that you have to fulfill.
Yeah.
With regard to labor, with regard to your own salary, and what are the things that are malleable, shall we say?
Yeah. I think the only thing in that line would be the high snow overtime.
Okay.
Other than that, it's contractual.
Okay. Good to know.
But
So-
I think expanding on your point and using B 2701, that's included in your number, showing your percentage increase, the
Yes.
state aid,
Yes.
but we get that money back.
Yes.
So I think what we need to see
Yeah.
is the net. We have to understand what the revenue is so that, because your budget, the impact of the town isn't going up by that percentage because we haven't, in this exercise, we haven't taken into consideration the revenue.
Correct.
We
And
have to see that.
And Bob has just mentioned to me that they're kind of looking at that in the back channels, and that'll be more fleshed out as, between them, when they develop their budget, they're certainly going to be looking at all that.
So when we haven't done any work on our budget except to just start identifying what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So this is just presentations, Lou, but I gave them a cheat sheet last night on some of the things that moved the budget, give it to them. When we present to you, way before that, I'm going to start giving you all my
Right.
literature like I did last year from all the 501c3s, the different departments. You'll have all that before you, after we look at it first.
Okay.
But we'll just end by, again, thanking you for hell of a job, taking care of us in the last storm.
We try.
And, hats off to your crew.
Definitely.
And, thanks for everything.
No problem. Thank you.
Anything further? Okay. America, the 250th anniversary. This was a late addition to our agenda. Here we go. Oh, Scarlett.
Did you come back to the front lines? Oh.
Good luck following that.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here tonight. For those online or here in person who I haven't worked with directly, my name is Jen Strunk. I am a Wheeler graduate, a professional event planner, and I've had the privilege of either producing or volunteering at some of our town's most loved events. Tonight, I am here to present the vision for North Stonington's America 250 celebration. For anyone who is unfamiliar, America 250 is a nationwide celebration of our semi-quincentennial. It is the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Every community in the country has been invited to celebrate, and being asked to spearhead this for North Stonington is a great personal honor to me. At a high level, the event I'm proposing includes food and drink sales, interactive children's activities that are safe, engaging, and great fun for little ones, an incredible live band later in the day, a professionally produced fireworks display to close the evening, and much more. This will not be a ticketed event. This is free for everyone to attend, and it's located right here, split between the 298 property and the library lawn. This event is meant to feel like a classic small town American block party, the kind where kids run freely and neighbors reconnect. I'm leaning heavily into fun and nostalgia here. It will be warm, welcoming, and deeply rooted in pride of our country and pride of North Stonington. It's for families, childless adults, for seniors, for everyone, and it will be nonpartisan and unifying. From a financial perspective, I want to be very clear and very responsible. Tonight, I am presenting an event budget of $30,000. I'm going to take you through the details in just a moment, and as we walk through it, you will see the steps that have been taken to reduce the taxpayer burden. I'm proud to say the $30,000 figure already reflects over $20,000 in professional discounts that I am able to secure as a courtesy through my own industry relationships. I also need to highlight that for a large-scale public event with this level of logistical complexity, a high-quality, safe, and well-managed celebration, $30,000 is a very modest cost. In addition, the Three Wise Women Foundation is actively pursuing sponsorships from local businesses and families. Every sponsorship dollar received will be applied to the event cost and will reduce the town's final number. I also want to emphasize that we are not asking the town to take on the operational burden of this event. The America 250 planning team, working on behalf of the town, will handle the planning, vendor coordination, logistics, volunteer coordination, and the on-site management. The town's role is to support the vision and provide the funding that allows it to happen safely and responsibly. America 250 is a once-in-a-generation milestone, and this is a one-time ask. I will not be making this an annual event. This is our opportunity to do something memorable and truly remarkable for the residents of North Stonington. So now let's go over the budget spreadsheet. I want to walk through this slowly with you because it's structured to show not just the final number, but the steps we've taken to be responsible with taxpayer dollars. The first column is titled Retail Estimate, which reflects what an event of this size and scale would realistically cost if it were priced at full market rates. This is a more complete picture of the scope and the complexity of the event. The second column is titled Actual Cost, and it's just that. This is the cost after reductions, including the professional discounts that I've already secured and adjustments that reflect how the event will be actually managed. When you look at the difference between the two columns, you see that we've reduced the overall event cost by approximately $30,000. We have cut the price in half. This is very intentional. It's important to us that the taxpayer burden is minimized while still delivering a high quality and well-managed event. There are some items on the spreadsheet that are italicized. Those items are fixed costs. It is what the item or the activity actually costs. It's time sensitive and there's limited availability. For those items, there are contracts and proposals also in your packet. Other items are not italicized, which means the listed cost is my best educated estimate for the amount we need for that particular item or activity. You will also notice that alcohol is zeroed out in the actual cost column. We are not expecting the town of North Stonington to purchase alcohol. We don't feel that would be appropriate. And that portion of the event will be managed separately, and it is not part of the town-funded budget. As you may be aware, I am one of the founders of Three Wise Women. Last month, our board voted to take on securing sponsorships for America 250 on behalf of the town. Because we are a 501c3, sponsorships will be handled through the nonprofit and will be tax deductible. It was important to us to separate fundraising from municipal decision-making. Every dollar raised through sponsorships will be applied to the event cost and reduce the amount that the town is asked to fund. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Yes.
I know you presented this last night, so I got a chance to think about it. So, where did you capture, I know we're gonna have to have, if you have fireworks, we're gonna have either fire marshal or firemen on the site.
Mhm.
If you're gonna have alcohol, we're gonna have to have police presence on the
Mhm.
site. As we spoke of last night, can't have people buying or drinking alcohol on town property.
Mhm.
So there's gonna have to either be a roped off area, some way to keep people that are drinking in on Wheel Library property.
Correct.
So where did you capture the fire and police in the budget?
It is not on the budget.
Okay.
I've modeled this after Frights and Lights, where they are simply on site.
Okay, so when they're on site, but first and so the town pays for the
Mhm.
troopers and they pay for if there's highway guys, and so that would be part of a town expense. It comes into in their labor, but that we pay their overtime on that, so that's not in this, but okay.
So this is a one-day event
Correct.
and it's going to run from when to when?
Approximately 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock?
Mhm.
In July?
Yeah.
Fireworks?
That's when it gets dark. That's
Okay.
when it's dark enough to be
Okay.
visible.
When you said the sponsorships will go ahead and offset the cost, is that once you have all the sponsorships come in right up to the date of the event, that you hand a check back to the town and it could end up being a net zero? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The different bills that are associated with the event, they have different due dates, but that is the general concept. Yes, we would accept sponsorship dollars as late as people want to give them to us, and we would be happy to give any money back to the town that's not necessary.
What if you generate more money than was the expenses?
Three Wise Women is the sponsor, the overall sponsor of the event, and at that point, it would likely be a fundraising event for our nonprofit.
Okay.
Jen, do you know our neighboring towns? Do you have any knowledge of what events they may be planning? I'm just wondering how much, $30,000, a lot of money.
Sure.
If neighboring towns are not doing anything and we get a huge amount of neighboring townspeople
Mhm.
coming into our event, do you have any idea what other towns are doing?
So the only town that I'm even slightly familiar with is Westerly. They are structuring theirs a little bit differently. They're not having a one-day event. They're having a series of events really over the year. I understand Westerly and North Stonington are two very, very different towns, but Westerly's events are huge. They're a much bigger scale. They're having a whole gala. They're having a drone show. I don't think they're having a fireworks display, but their events are much, much larger. I'm not super privy to their numbers, but I'm estimating that their expenses are probably likely, upper six figures.
And the fireworks price, does that include, those are professional fireworks? So they
Yes.
come
Yes.
with all of their own insurance?
Yep,
And
they're
okay.
put on by Ocean State Pyrotechnics right out of Rhode Island. They're really great. I've worked with them before in my own job with weddings. They're a preferred vendor for several vendors venues that I work with, and they are full service, start to finish.
Okay.
Last night it was asked I think Nicole asked if it rains that day.
Yes.
And you said you possibly could move the venue to the next day, but definitely not the next weekend.
Correct.
So you have to carry insurance for that.
Yes. Yes. And actually it's funny. I also had a little bit of time to consider that a little bit more. And I'm saying this publicly for the first time, but if we were not able to have the event on the 27th of June, I would actually love to speak with the fair and see if there would be some interest in rolling the fireworks from America 250 to the fair. They've had fireworks before and it's worked out, rather than lose it entirely. But it's definitely, a discussion that I would love to have.
So last time when the Board of Selectmen heard this, and we figured, well, tomorrow we'll hear it with the Board of Finance. The thing I'm confused on is It's happening June 27th, which means it's in this year's budget. So I can't put it in next year's budget because it's happening in this year. We don't have money budgeted for it. We also know that when we talk about a designated fund, there's no vehicle in a designated fund to support something like this. So I don't know. We thought maybe if being that they have a line item in the budget, Three Wise Women, and then you'd have to go through your normal discussions about undesignated fund, which I won't stay for, but is there a way to appropriate to that line item for something like this? So that's, I guess I'm going to rely on the Board of Finance to come up with the vehicle to finance this, if that's what we want to do as a town, if that's what you want to do as the Board of Finance, come up how we can do this if we, and it still has to go to a town meeting too. So the thing we're up against a little bit is for you guys to consider it. We're going to meet again on the 17th. You're going to meet again on the 18th. If you can give us an answer on the 18th, if you can, on how we're going to do this, if we're going to do it at all, we have a town meeting on March 2nd. So we'd have to call a special Board of Selectmen meeting for the call of the town meeting on March 2nd. I asked if Jen could wait to May 6th, May 4th, rather, to the budget town meeting. And that's way past where she's starting to pay for vendors and pay for people up front. So, not to put the pressure on you, but I would say think about it tonight. If you can give us an answer on the 18th, if you want us to move forward. Nicole asked last night if the answer is no. So let's say it's all yes to all these boards. We go to the town meeting, the vote is no. What's plan B? And I think Jen, you said last night there is no plan B.
There is
It just won't happen. So
Correct.
Probably have this. Who's got cleanup? Is that Alan?
Alan and volunteers.
All right, so we'll put that on the February 18th agenda. There's a line item for you guys right now on the budget
Yes.
from on this present year.
Correct.
Jen, would you have a rough idea on sponsors at all, on how much would be coming back?
Well, obviously, it's impossible to guarantee.
Very possible.
Low end, I think it's very safe to say we could expect 5,000. I really do believe we could get much more than that.
Okay, gives you a ballpark. Thank you.
Oh,
Just
go ahead.
one other thing on that, along that line,
Of course.
like the first night events, they sell the buttons first night and they, as a fundraising. Will you be doing anything like that?
We've thought about it. Yeah. Not buttons specifically, but we thought about t-shirts, commemorative t-shirts, and some kind of swag. People like things like that. So yes, we have. Yep.
So Mike, what I wanted to make sure we did on the side of having everything in the open and we know exactly how things are being paid, if the Board of Finance can come out with a way to say up to but not to exceed $30,000, similar to what we do on other line items, I would then have that bucket of money on that line, but not turn over a check for $30,000. Have Jen and her group invoice us as invoices come in. We sign them as we do now, 2 selectmen and the treasurer sign each check. We get invoices to back it up. We can attach the check so we know exactly what's been paid. And then if she ends up spending, say, $22,500, and we didn't go all the way up to 30, that money just goes back into the undesignated fund. So, but that's down the road. That's where I'd like to manage it anyway. Yeah.
And to be clear, we have no plans to grow the event up to $30,000. So say, for example, the $30,000 is authorized. We pull in $10,000 in sponsorship. We're not turning it into a $40,000 spend. It is set.
Okay.
So this is to the selectmen. No offense. What's the structure here? Is this a town sanctioned event run by Three Wise Women?
It would be a town.
The only reason I'm asking is helps me process.
So it's not a town sanction in the fact that we have a town committee that they're having meetings and having agendas and doing minutes and that. So it's not doing that. It's an outside group. In this case, it's an outside group, the Three Wise Women, that are producing this event that could be supported by the town. I didn't get a chance to see Nick today. I wanted to know what we did in 2007, because when we did the bicentennial for the town, I know there was multiple events, and I don't know how much money, if any, the town put into that. And I think, other than me, I don't know who was around for 1976. But that was also big events. Lou, did Wesley put any money into that event? Or are you too young to know that?
No, I'm old enough to remember. I couldn't grow a beard though, because that was one of the requirements.
So I think I do want to find out if there's a precedent being set that the town did this back in 2007 and how much money the town did spend, because they produced an entire binder, as you've probably seen, and they had multiple events over that weekend. So
I know Valentine, it was during the festival, the old Valentine Festival. Everyone remembers that. It was a blast. I was on a cart painted red, white, and blue with my pony Ginger pulling it at 5.5 years old.
I'm hearing a volunteer, just to make a note of that.
It was one of the greatest days of my life up to that point. I can tell you that.
Oh. Gary, it would be similar to Frights and Lights. I mean, that is not specifically, that's a sponsored event by Three Wise Women, that the line item that we have in the budget for Three Wise Women has, I think there's 500 in there now. So it would be very similar, except not a recurring thing, just a one-time.
But also just to clarify, this is not my idea, Three Wise Women idea. America 250 is coming down from.
nationwide.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of stuff coming down. Don't worry about that. I'm reading it.
Okay.
It's all good. I hear what you're saying, Nicole, with one big distinction, and that's Frights and Lights is in the budget and this isn't. And that's the hurdle we have to solve.
Well, Frights and Lights isn't specifically in the budget. $500 is in the line item for Three Wise Women. How they use that is up to them. That 500 could certainly, that 500 could certainly be used to go towards this event. Does that then budget, season wise, does that then take away from Frights and Lights? The timing? No.
So that's an interesting point. So just hold on for a second. We have an existing budget line item. Can we increase that budget line item?
Well, that's exactly what Bob's suggesting,
what we asked
rather
you
than
guys.
ask for an appropriation
No, I heard-
out of the
I
undesignated.
didn't hear that part.
No, we said we rely on the Board of Finance to come up with the best way to
Yeah.
do this. If there's a way to do it, I suggested that might be a way to do it.
This is a funded budget line item already. It's got a dollar amount associated with it. So it's just make appropriations, send it to a town meeting and
We don't have to solve it here. We're going to solve it on
Correct.
the 18th. I just wanted some things to noodle around. Thanks.
So I put up the budget from 2007
Oh, good.
and in the 2005, 2006 budget, the bicentennial line item was line 30.08 and $1,500 was earmarked. And then in 2006, 2007, an additional $5,000 was earmarked. So a total of $6,500 was put away for the.
Inflation.
So.
I mean, this is
Yeah.
250. It's not 225.
Thank you, because that was one of the things that we wanted to have ready, especially when we go to a town meeting, if it goes there. So, yeah, so 6,000.
All right, anything further for Three Wise Women and the American 250th potential celebration, which sounds great, and we will have to mull it over.
Out of curiosity, if anything you pay right now for locking in before we get this decision done, you'll probably lose or not.
Yes. I have put a deposit down on the band because I had to, and that was an educated risk that I took.
Yep.
And if this doesn't go through, I'm having a private party.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jen. All right. Next agenda item is Wheeler Library discussion. I am going to suggest we just take a pause for just 5 minutes. If you need to use the facilities, please do. I got a thumb drive just so we can get the presentation on the computer to share. And I just going to go over our planned presentation for Monday's town hearing for that. So 5 minutes. We'll come back in 5 minutes. We're back. All right, so as everyone knows, we have the Wheeler Library hearing on Monday, the 9th. It'll be over at the school, at the elementary school, right? So the library will be presenting, we'll be up there to also present what I'm going to show you now. I've sent this out to everybody earlier, but I kind of want to just give you the high level view of how I'm going to present this. So I'm just going to get into it. Yeah. On the presentation itself, or? Okay. Yeah, yeah. That's why I'm brought it up. So this first slide, just talking about, this is after they present their whole project. They're asking, the project is 4 million. They've raised 1 million from their endowment, from their fundraising. They have been awarded a state of Connecticut grant for 2 million. It is contingent upon securing the entire cost. They have to show that they've got the 4 million, which is why they're asking the town of North Stonington, the citizens, to fund the remaining 1 million in order to secure that grant and obviously complete the project. Is that the?
For number 3, can you just change it to asked? This is ask the town of North Stonington instead of is asking. Because has is not correct. Number 3.
Is asking?
Is asking. So change it to has asked the citizens.
Okay, well,
But it's not really going.
Well, has is asking is not correct.
they're asking.
Is not correct.
I don't have has is, it's is.
Honey, it says has colon and then is
Up
asking.
top, after your first one, your first sentence.
Because you have has.
Oh, got you.
is asking.
Okay, I'll get rid of that. Good point.
Sorry, I was on mute. Has, and then the bullets.
100%.
Okay, sorry. I apologize.
Yep. So
See-
we'll just do asked.
Blue. Shh.
Okay.
I said, are we
you know,
allowed to nitpick? And he said yes, so
When
we're doing it.
we're provided with this request for the Board of Finance, we started talking about how it would be funded if the town did want to go forward with approving this ask. Municipal bonding, that wasn't normally this is a small amount for bonding, and there's costs that are associated, which makes bonding not a good option. We have option 2, which is having the town fund the entire 1 million in this next fiscal year, 26-27. And I actually have to change this line right here, this 0.103 mils. It's actually a little higher than that now that we have the new net grand list. So that's why I'm glad we're going through this. And this option saves the town from having to pay yearly interest payments. Obviously, it's a big ask for 1 year. Third option is an unsecured loan with a local bank with yearly payments with no prepayment penalty. Allows us with the most financial flexibility. The con is the town will have to pay yearly interest on the unsecured loan while it's outstanding. And just noting that the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance believe that this type of financial ask would require it to go to a referendum and not just a town meeting. There would be a town meeting to send it to a referendum, but the vote on the ask would be at a referendum. And I added this after we got the new numbers today. So, kind of give us a baseline. So where do we start after the revaluation? Because this is up for discussion for everybody if we want to even get down this road. But I thought, there's going to be questions about the reval and, how we came up with the baseline mill rate number. So plugging in the 935-919-296 from the presentation from Jen Lineweaver today. Again, this is for demonstration purposes only. There's a lot of numbers that are used from last year's budget because obviously we don't know what our expenses are this year. And we do know what the net grand list is, but that's the only change that we have. That's a known. All this additional taxes, use of town money, intergovernmental licenses, other revenue. We don't know what's going to be in the budget for this year. So we're just using last year's numbers. And so the estimated revenue at that 98.5 collection rate is the 23,263,477.14.
That number times 0.2888 and then 98% of it for collection.
No, I did not. That number comes from this net grand list multiplied by this mill rate gives us this amount, the 17,893,701. Yes, by the new mill rate. These numbers are static. The additional tax money and any additional revenues. So this is kind of a work in progress because then you have the estimated budget that we're using last year's budget numbers for. Again, this is a static number. So the total budget is the 23,255, 333.85. And if you take the revenues and the budget, this number right here is the key. It's the mill rate that would balance the revenue with the expenditures to the best way possible. There's always going to be a little slight variance, and that's what this 8,143 number is. That needs to be in the black for it to be a balanced budget. If you messed around with this 19.41, you could go 19.409 and you'd be in the red. So, it's as close as you can get it to have this be in the black and a low number.
But Mike, when you did that multiplication, did you take 98% collection rate?
Yes.
Okay.
This operational revenue comes from a 98.5 collection rate from the net grand list.
98.
What's that?
I'm using 98 this year. Because only the auditors had us collected at 97.9 last year. So I'm using 98 at 98.5.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. If this number is 98, then this number is going to be lower and it's going to change this. But again, this is, for demonstration purposes only. And just so we have it, again, this is for discussion amongst all of us. I used the 62% that we got from the grand list from the assessor today. So, for instance, someone who had a $300,000 value before the reval, their now value is 486. That's a 62% increase. This is in my way. Okay. So their old taxes at the 28.88 mils when they had a lower assessment was 8664. Their new assessment at the lower mill rate that we'd have to use to balance the budget would be 9,433.26. That's a difference of $769.26 for that particular taxpayer. And I just did, it was an 8.88% increase versus a 62% increase, which is just, some people think 62%, it's going to be 62% higher, and it doesn't work out that way. Any questions on that?
So just so that I'm clear, your whole exercise in this whole slide is really trying to help the taxpayer understand with the new reval, with the potential new mill rate lower, that for that particular taxpayer, taking out the $1 million loan would amount to about a $700.
No, this is baseline. Nicole, you're almost there. This is the baseline number of where do we come up with a number for a mill rate that would balance the budget using a 98.5% collection rate, all of the revenues staying static, the expenses staying static. To balance that budget, we needed a 19.41 mill rate
Without,
without those,
without the $1 million.
those will be next slides.
Okay, thank you. Because that ultimately, that's what
We're
everybody
here for, but
wants to hear.
I wanted for
Gotcha.
people that are going to want to see, and again, this is for our discussion and
So is
demonstration
this
purpose
in your
only.
Is
It
this
is.
in the,
It is.
okay,
So right now, this is in the presentation.
yeah. So this will be a challenging slide for people to, I think it will be a challenging slide for people to understand. But ultimately, if where you're going to go in the next couple of slides is what does it mean to me?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I just, and we'll talk about this. So, I'll go right to your point. How could option 2, which is the, funding the whole $1 million ask in this fiscal year, how could it affect your mill rate? I'm saying could, because again, these are just demonstration numbers. We don't know what the expense budget's going to be. We don't know what these additional revenues are going to be. So the mill rate that I generated from the prior slide without Wheeler involved is again 19.41. If you add $1 million to the expense side, which is here with the regular budget, and if you added $1 million, now it's going to require a 20.49 mil to find a balanced budget. All right. So that's a 1.08 mil increase for 1 year. What does that do to somebody's actual tax bill? Again, using the increased assessment, that person that did have a $300,000 house is now 486. At 19.41 mils, your bill is 9,433.26. If you wanted to fund the full $1 million ask at the 24.09 mils, it's 11,707.74. That taxpayer is going to pay additional taxes of 2,274.48 for 1 year. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, I added it because I didn't know if we needed to be able to set the tone for the baseline 19.41. If I imagine someone say, where'd you get that 19.41 from?
It actually, we can actually really break this down even simpler. After getting the official number, a mill equals $935,000. We're pretty close. So the project is going to be just a little bit over a mill. Done. If it's 1 year, it's 1 mil. This is probably just you can say it's a 1.1 mil project for 1 year, right? Was it 1.8, 1.08?
1.08.
Yeah, 1.08. I understand that, but if you were like for the slide, like you were talking about, once we have this final number, after you literally that is the equation. That is for 1 year. It's
right.
Just over a mil increase.
So if you bring it down to the individual, and if their house is assessed for $400,000,
right,
it's going to cost them 1 mil or $400.
Correct.
That's the impact for 1 year.
Yep.
Well, it's wrong.
It keeps it
right. I mean, I think you're going to check yourself because if the house value is 486, if it's a 1 mil increase, the taxes will go up $486, right?
Yes, you're right. I have this slide particularly has a mistake in it. Yeah, you're right. It does. It does because it should be 0.02049 and I put it in the wrong spot.
Decimal points are
yeah.
They can make
Yeah.
a big impact.
Right. That's I'm glad we're doing this exercise. So that's the 1 million in 1 year. Then we move on to, our option for using, securing an unsecured loan with a local bank at 5.8% over 10 years. The Board of Finance didn't believe that we should go longer than that. If we did one annual payment in year one, the interest on that 5.8 is 58,000. So the total cost in year one, which would be seen on this year's budget, is 158,000. And you see how it goes down from there. And the point being is that we would pay a total of $319,000 in interest over that 10-year period if we did it in one annual payment for 10 years. Again, still using option 3, which is the unsecured loan. Instead, and using semi-annual payments. And I thank Lou for doing these amortization schedules. You do save interest on it, and you make a payment, say in January and one again in July or August, and it saves you an interest each year. And a total it's still a 10-year project. It's just 20 payments. Now you're paying interest of $304,500. Another option is the same thing. I'm just using the annual payment in this particular example. But you see in year 2, if we deem that the undesignated fund is sufficient or over our policy, that we could elect as a Board of Finance to allocate some funds from the undesignated fund to pay off part of the debt. And you see here that we're using $377,000 in year 2 to make that payment. You would see the interest payment still in the budget for that season, but that one payment cuts 2 years off of the loan, and it cuts roughly, if we did the biannual, roughly $100,000 off of interest. And to go back to our demonstration of our mill rate calculator, and this is just for the audience, this is the calculator that we use every budget season when we finally set the mill rate, when we know what these revenues are and we know what the budget is going to be. This slide just is to demonstrate that that in year 1, we have a inclusion in that budget of 158,000. Again, baseline at $486,000 house is $9,433.26. To include that additional 158,000, the mill rate would have to be 19.58. And in fractions, it's 0.01958. So the bill for that same house, $9,515.88. So that year 1 payment's going to cost that household $82.62 additional taxes. Okay, and the mill rate difference is 0.17 for that loan payment, which takes us back to it. Obviously that 1 year payment, that's a big pill to swallow for people, and the loan option, spreads that pain over 10 years or less if we have the undesignated fund to use, and gives us that flexibility. This slide is the most recent undesignated fund spreadsheet. In it is monies that are allocated for certain things, money that come back once we get grants back. But presently, this includes money that we used to plug last year's budgetary hole in it of $128,679. We still don't know if we need it. but it's in there as a negative number because it is there as a placeholder. So we know that it's allocated at this point, and we don't know whether or not that's coming back. But as we sit, we have 4,492,072.17 in the undesignated fund, which is 18.56 of our total expenditures, using last year's expenditure budget, or this year's expenditure budget, I should say. And this part right here is important. This is our Board of Finance undesignated fund policy limits. The 8.5% is a floor, which the Board of Finance does not want our undesignated fund to go below. And we have a ceiling because we do not want to keep more of the taxpayers' money in a fund than we have to. And that's the number that we're comfortable with for using for unforeseen problems like a big storm, some other kind of natural disaster. And we're allowed to use it for reducing debt, paying off capital if it gets above the 17%. In fact, last October, we were over the 17%. We directed the Board of Selectmen to use up to $700,000 to pay down capital, and that's going to help us in this year's budget and for the next 2 years' budgets. Matter of fact. So that number 377 came in our example up here of, maybe a payment, again, if we're able to in year 2, we're still at that 377 additional, we could allocate that extra to go towards paying down this debt. And as you see here, that 18.56 we are presently pursuant, in comparison with our town budget, the 377 is 1.56% of that. If we did use that for paying down that debt, we would better be at our 17% level.
Can I just clarify your policy? Does it prevent, if we were to take, let's just say for discussion, we were to take the full million out of the undesignated fund and have no taxpayer impact whatsoever, does that go against your policy as far as the donation of the $1 million to the library fund?
Yes and no. Yeah, it goes against the policy because it's a 501c3. And that's the reason why we're looking at borrowing the money
and then paying
and
down.
then
correct. Okay.
using the undesignated fund. And that's why we think this is provides us all the flexibility we could benefit from over the next couple of years.
So during the presentation, or is the goal of the presentation to present the different options to the town and try and gauge their interest in which one the room feels might be best to help the Board of Finance make a decision if it passes how we actually fund the 1 million? Is that the goal of the presentation?
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
if you start hearing that, hey, with a reeval year, having a 1 mil on an additional to everything else, you could really start gauging. It's like, hey, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be tough. Then, all right, well, then we get the kind of the cue that, hey, we should spread this
Spread it
out.
out.
Or if we want to spread it out, then we can even take the money out of the undesignated fund, whack it with either bring it to policy or go a little bit more, because then it's acquired debt on the town.
Okay.
So we actually fall within policy. We have to take on the debt or we have to put it in the budget.
Okay.
One of the two ways.
Okay.
And I think part of the answer to that question is not only do we want flexibility, for paying this off in smaller increments. It allows us, in case of an emergency, we still have a healthy undesignated fund and we use it, as we can. So we don't know what's going to happen in the summer or the spring with a big storm we had in 2011. I would answer it that way, that and obviously it's here to get feedback from the town. It's their money in a sense. And we had this discussion vigorously regarding whether or not, that would be a proper use of the fund per our policy. But it's certainly, people can give feedback on it one way or the other.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that's what I'm expecting to hear.
I think that it'll be important just to help them understand that we do have a policy that governs how we use that money. And that, because if they hear how healthy our undesignated fund is, why wouldn't the town want to say, absolutely, spend down some more of that, give them the $1 million, and I have no impact to my taxes whatsoever. So I think we just need to be prepared to speak to that.
So even if they wanted to go in the undesignated fund, say, hey, we want to take the $1 million out of the undesignated fund, we still have to go and get the loan. Like Lou was saying before, you have to close on the loan and then pay it off.
Pay it
Yeah,
off.
but that's what we have to help them understand.
And if you
Yeah.
did that, if we did do that, I think we ran the numbers in it and the undesignated fund goes to like 14.6%,
I have those numbers.
which is that's still a very healthy. undesignated
Exactly,
fund.
exactly.
So-
Okay.
And I guess I've said for a couple of months, I feel as if this board and the Board of Selectmen has been very presumptuous that the town is supportive of this. So I think that we need to keep open minds that maybe that's not the case. And on Monday, we need to be ready to hear what everyone has to say. We may not be in a position to start talking about funding on Monday. We may be talking about why or why not this is the right idea. And that people may not be willing to spend an additional $1 million. The numbers we just ran was an 8% increase as an example, and another 1% increase if you add in the $1 million. So I think we need to again, I'll just restate that I think we need to be less presumptuous about where this is headed and be more open-minded and willing to listen to what people have to say and understand that not everyone is equitable. The representation of the two boards that are sitting here tonight is probably not representative of the median income or median household of the town. So I would like everyone to keep that in mind as we move forward.
I think that's a good point, but I think that's why we're having the public hearing. Which if we move forward without a public hearing, I would agree. But I think this is going to be everyone. We're not saying all those to come that are for it and those that don't want it stay home. So I think we should have an open mind.
Bob, I understand that. The words that I've heard from the two boards over the last 6 months, and I'm sorry, but I'm the only one that voted no. The last time this went up to vote. So I think my position has been clear, but the words that the two boards have used over the last 6 months have been, I'm uncomfortable with. So I'm just going to state again that I think that we are being too presumptuous, and I would like for us to be more open-minded and maybe be more careful with the rhetoric and how we are presenting this, both here in this forum and how we plan to present this on Monday.
I don't disagree. I think your chairman, when he presents the board of the finance piece, he can't assume it's going to be approved. But if we don't have the finance answer and it is approved, then we're backtracking. So I think he's just being prepared to, if it is approved, to be able to answer the finance piece to it. But I agree, we can present this in a very neutral way where we're not trying to sway the voter one way or the other. I think that would be the best way to do it. One comment, Lou, on the 8.5% and the 17% that we talked about. That
sorry?
changes as of July 1st. So it'll be 8.5 and 17% of a higher budget. So those numbers will go up.
Right, exactly. And so the undesignated fund as a result would drop unless we have more property that's come on board and we get greater revenue from that. So that's one of the reasons why I thought that was important to know that. I do think, though, I disagree a little bit with you. I think it is upon us that we need to convey to the people in North Stonington that, yes, this is a lot of money, But based on our analysis, it's something the town, if you want to do it, you can afford to do it. And that's the way I'm looking at this, and I think that's the way Mike's presented it. And I think that's fair. I think that's our responsibility. To endorse it or not, that's not what we're doing. We're saying, look, for the finance board, they've made the ask, can we afford it? And this says we can. Now they have to decide whether or not they want to do it.
So with what Lou is saying, we should also make sure there's a pause between when the library presents it, they have some discussion going on the floor so they can get a feel whether they want it or not want it on how their questions are. I can't see going from library discussion right to our discussion before there's any, they need discussion on the floor.
Oh, there's going to be, there was no way that I would go ahead and say, let's go right into it without them asking any question they want about the project, scope of the project. You know, why should we even fund a project? You know, any esoteric question or financial question or, you know, whatever questions they have for the board should be directed towards the board. Or why should we finance this for you? Okay. Our job, and I'm taking my job to be, you know, this is what it's going to cost. We know it's $1 million, but you know, they're on and present ways in which they could, we could finance it should they want to go forward. And I would prefer to come out of this with, if the feedback is, we want this to go to referendum and we think that the Board of Finance should put in the question that, and I think we probably should have it, that we will, and we're approved to take a loan out of $1 million plus interest and costs, which is what the question is, that we moved forward with them. That's in the call. And I would prefer them to, you know, for us to know, maybe not after the town hearing, but certainly after a town meeting, which of these methods, if however they wanted to be presented, you know, at the time that we vote the referendum.
Yeah.
So this is all information about how this could be financed if they want to, you know, go forward with a referendum.
And along that line, I would bet if you just ask the question in general to everyone out there, it's $1 million ask from the library. How much do you think that's going to cost you as an individual taxpayer? What are they going to say? It's going to cost me $1,000, $500. And I think it's important that while there can be that discussion about after the library presentation, it'll be a void if they don't understand how much it's actually going to cost them to make that decision to do it or not to do it. So, you know, I just think it's going to be important that we follow this up with that pretty quickly, you know, because we could spend an hour just talking about, oh, it's so expensive. Until they see this, they won't know how much it's going to really cost them.
I just want to clarify it. We're not, it's not if it goes to referendum, correct? That's already been set. No?
No, so the Board of Finance has approved sending it to public hearing. That's all that's been approved so far.
Okay.
What they have to do on the 18th is approve to go back to the Board of Selectmen to have us call a town meeting.
Okay.
They've not approved to send it back, so they could kill this at the Board of Finance level. It may never get back to us.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
And that's a very important point. Is part of this is if there's overwhelming dissent, that has to come into how we look at all of this.
If there's overwhelming negativity towards approving the project at the hearing, that is a snapshot of who's sitting in the audience. That isn't.
I'm not saying it's going to be definitive, but it has to be something that we have to talk about as a board, and decide, you know, do we still want to send it to a referendum?
Yeah.
Or does it go for another hearing based upon all of the myriad questions that have been raised at this particular hearing? Or, you know, do we move it to a town meeting? And in between you address, it's just no different than the budget hearing where we present the budget for the first time. We hear a bunch of feedback. We go back And then we then move it to the Board of Selectmen to call the town meeting, which is again, that you go back and find out, did we make any changes? Did we answer questions that people have raised? And after the town meeting, then it's moved by the town to a referendum.
If these dates are important to you, right now, tentatively, the town meeting is March 2nd and the referendum is March 16th. I had to work around all our budget meetings, and that's the only time. I said, right now, we have a tentative, we have not called the meeting, but looking at the calendar, the only time we could have a town meeting is March 2nd. And the only time we could have a referendum is March 16th, because everything else falls in conflict with the budget, which is the most important thing we're working on at this point. If we can't do it at that time, it's going to have to wait till the May town meeting, which I don't think the library, it falls within their timeframe. So it's a March 2nd town meeting with a March 16th referendum, if it comes back to us to call those.
Okay. And I have other spreadsheets here. If there are questions from the crowd, I mean, what does it do for if they did, you want the whole million, like in year one, what it would do to our undesignated fund balance? It's 14.43%. What if we used 500 and, or paid the whole second year out of undesignated fund, it'd take us down to 16.28. Those are there for, in case the audience is asking those questions. To your point, well, if the town says overwhelmingly we want to use the undesignated fund, we're still doing the loan. We still have to decide ourselves whether or not we're going to send that. We're going to do that.
Has the library's timing changed? Because what they told us they had like 3 years to get it. And you, Bob, you said that you didn't think it met the library. So I'm just confused.
When they were at the last time they were at your meeting, Gary, I think they said they would like to break ground sometime in April or May because they wanted to get the project moving. The only way we could do that would be to have a referendum in March. So that was at your meeting when that was stated.
Yeah, at the same meeting, we said, when do you need the town's money available?
The town's money, but they want to get the jobs to start it. How can they get the job started if they don't know if the town's supporting them or not?
They have to have a financial commitment to go to the state so they can satisfy the state requirements.
And we asked them, and I didn't remember hearing they needed it by March.
Yeah, it was by March.
I'm going to go back and look at the meeting minutes because I don't think that's.
I would have preferred not to rush it through to March, but looking at our budget timeline, that's the only time I could have done it.
So I apologize. I'm going to interrupt for a second because I will have to leave in a minute. I have to get to something at home. Just a couple of feedback items, Mike. I do think the process, where we are in the process and the rest of the process should be one of your slides. So like this was approved by the selectmen, this was approved by the Board of Finance. We're at the town hearing. If the next thing would be a tentatively held town meeting, and then the next thing would be a referendum. Like, I think that would be a helpful thing for people to understand where they are in the process, because most people aren't going to follow like what the point of a hearing is. Just like 5 dots on a line, right? So, and then the other thing I would suggest is I would have an upfront line item that sort of explains what the point of the presentation is, because what you're presenting are scenarios, not necessarily what we're definitely going to do. And if I'm not following all of these meetings and I see the first slide, I'm like, oh, we're going to spend $1 million. Oh, wait, we're going to spend, you know what I mean? Like, I think saying option 1, 2, 3 is a little specific, whereas like, here's a couple scenarios on how this could be funded, I think helps them just understand that this is like, we want you to understand how we would approach this, but this isn't necessarily exactly how we're going to do it. You have a bunch of different scenarios in your spreadsheet too. So I think I would just like upfront say, thanks to the library for their presentation. What we're going to walk you through is, what the financials of the town look like and how we're potentially looking at scenarios to fund. And then at the end of your presentation, maybe just to kind of address Winona's concern, which is what we are looking to hear from you. Is this should be something like, is this something folks are comfortable with? Is this something people are concerned about? Do we have questions about the funding options? I think all of that kind of, in your conclusion. Okay, you got it. I didn't get that far.
Yeah, I didn't put it up there yet, but that's,
So that was it. I just something to ground people at the beginning and then at the end, so they kind of follow the thread all the way through. That's all. I am gonna leave. I don't know if there's voting. I'm gonna ask that Carl be seated, and I will
No, I don't, there's not going to be a vote on it. It's just,
meetings, minutes, whatever, in my place.
we're certainly not going to talk about the policy. I just have to get that one draft that we voted on last meeting, the undesignated fund policy, which is that one change. I have to just print it out and bring it in to sign and give it to Bob to sign. It'll be as we voted on it. I just haven't printed it out. Apologize. I'll get to that. So there's no really further things we need to do with the policy discussion. So, if we have nothing further on the presentation, and your points are all well taken, it's intended to be, an informational session on how we could possibly finance the ask if the town wants to approve this, wants to support the project. And that's, I think that's what this says. Does the town support the Wheeler Library renovation project? If so, what manner should we finance the ask? Given the options that we presented. And I can certainly add another slide, at the beginning saying this is how we've come to, that they've come with the ask, and try to give a timeline of when that would be. But I thought that was putting the cart before the horse, because this is the first real informational hearing versus a town meeting as to, we don't know where it's going to go from this night. And that's kind of to Winona's point as well, is, they're there to present their case and get the feedback. We're there to present funding options and get their feedback. We know it's going to go to a referendum. And if, at the end, I think Bob can sum it up with saying, if you guys, after tonight and with all the feedback, we're going to take this back. But if this is going to move forward, these are the likely dates that we will have the town meeting. This is the likely date we would have the referendum. I think that's your sum up. Okay.
Mike, can I ask one
Yes.
question real quick?
Yeah.
So by the time this presentation is over, will we definitively tell the people who are at the town hearing that it is the Board of Finance's recommendation that we do a 10-year loan with the option of utilizing an undesignated fund at some point? Because that's what we've been discussing. So I just want to make sure we had.
That's the first bullet point here. It's like,
Yep.
in conclusion, is the best option per the Board of Finance is to take the unsecured loan with a local bank and pay it off early if we're able to.
Right. Okay.
That gives us the most flexibility again with, we don't know what's going to happen down the line with regard to what happens in the world. It lessens the financial burden for the people, and we know we can predict what that is if it does go 10 years.
Right on.
And, and it gives us the option to if the townspeople want us to pay the debt down early, we're going to hear that feedback and we can use that in our discretion in the next several years.
So the only thing I was thinking, I was just talking to mine on a sidebar, and I don't think we can do it because the public hearing and both the letter and the public hearing notice states that no vote will be taken at the time. It would have been nice to be able to say, hey, after everything has been done, it's kind of straw poll. Because you can have everybody come in there and they can pack it with 200 people and everything, and you can hear a bunch of people and you can say, some people don't want to get up and talk. You might only have 5 or 6 people getting up and talk. Well, that's not going to really gauge anything. You're gonna skew the numbers. You have 200 people and only, let's say, 10 people talk. You could really have a false sense of who's for this or not. If you just did like a raise of hands saying, hey, how do you feel about this project? But I don't think you can do that because based off of what that is, because it's considered a vote.
I don't think that's what the hearing is for. You can't, we've all talked before about how it is the same people that come out for public hearings and town meetings. And people complain, even though that I've heard Bob 9 million times say, this is our form of government for most things. It's going to go to a referendum so that the entire town has the opportunity to vote on it. Taking a straw poll of the people in the room, I don't think that's going to get us anywhere. Those are just the people that showed up that night.
And it's not a foregone conclusion. This is going to go to an actual referendum.
I don't see, I agree with you and I understand. I don't see how we could ever let that happen. I don't see how we, as two boards and the amount of people that show up at a hearing or a town meeting, I don't see how we are going to take that away from the townspeople. The entire town, with the weight of how much money they're asking and the impact, the entire town needs to weigh in. I think that would weigh really heavy on our shoulders if we took that right away from the townspeople. But I understand that that is the process. And if you choose not to send it to a referendum, that is, I think that we will hear a lot of backlash on that. But I understand that that's the process.
I mean, Dan, to your point, there's, this is just a suggestion, spitballing. We could ask people as they come up and speak on it, and one thing we'd like your opinion on when you're providing your comments is, regardless of whether you're for or against it, would you like to see this question go to a referendum? That could be a suggestion from the moderator at the beginning, so we can kind of get a better gauge on, if 9 people out of 10 say, I think this should go to a referendum, this big of a question, then we know that, then we have our kind of marching orders that it should, be pushed to that, or the other way. If everyone comes up there and says, I don't like this project and I think you guys should kill it, that's what the people that are there are saying, but.
Well, if that happens at the meeting, first, I'd be surprised, but I agree. I don't see how we don't send this to a referendum. I mean, we've gone this far, and then to stop and say, we did all this work, we had a meeting, and there were a lot of people who didn't like it, so everybody else in the town of North Stonington doesn't get a voice. I think it has to go to a referendum. I can't.
Doesn't matter whether you're for or against it.
Exactly.
It just needs, everybody in town needs to be able to weigh in.
Want to do with their money, and that's so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can have a further, certainly we're going to get a lot of feedback and we're going to discuss it at the next meeting.
Right.
for
To me,
sure.
the feedback I'm going to look for is the sense about how we view doing this, because that's going to be the question about borrowing the money or just raising the mill rate. To me, that's going to be the interesting feedback.
All right. Well, I'm going to close this down for now.
So,
Stop sharing.
okay, all right, hold on.
Go ahead.
So now, so we're talking about voting at the February 18th meeting on whether or not we're going to send a $1.3 million ask to a referendum on March 16th, when we won't even have we won't even have the Board of Ed budget yet. And we won't have the Board of Selectmen budget yet. So we won't have a rough estimate of what our spend is going to look like for 26, 27. But we're going to vote to send this ask to referendum before that.
I think that's a very good point, Winona, and I think
I'm just asking you to clarify that that's the timing.
Well, no, we would vote to send it to the Board of Selectmen to send it to a town meeting, which would happen March 2nd.
And the referendum would be March 16th.
Correct. So yes,
So the timing would be that we would be asking the people of this town to vote at a referendum on March 16th before the Board of Finance has heard budgets from the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Ed.
And I think, that's the risk kind of the library takes. If they want, this, the timing has, if this is going to be a loan that is going to be on a budget line item, whether it's 1 million or 158, it will be on this year's budget in a line item. So the vote has to come before that, but the risk is on the library board, that people are going to be leery to approve a project when they don't know what the budget numbers are. And I think you're going to hear that at the hearing. And just to your point right now.
I think it's a really important point to make at the hearing and the town meeting. And it is a liability. It absolutely is.
That's got to be stated at the meeting, I
Yeah.
think. We're asking you, or if everybody here approves it and it goes to our schedule that Bob is suggesting, just remember that you're going to vote on something before we know what the final cost of the town is actually going to be.
And I'm trying to stress that in these slides that, guys, we don't know what this expense
but
number is going to be.
You gotta
We don't
explain it
know
that way.
what our revenue number is going to be. We only have one
So if-
solid number right now,
Okay.
which
Is this,
isn't even
is this a
solid.
responsible, are we being responsible by sending this to referendum in March then?
Maybe we are, maybe we're not, but we have known that for months. And to bring that up now.
No, March 16th, I just heard 25 minutes ago.
No. As far as this all happening before the budget happened, that we've known that this is how it was going to run. Because the library needs an answer before
no.
we could do that.
Oh, I'm not sure. Okay, so I disagree with you, Lou. I did not know that I was not under the impression that we were voting on this prior to the budget. I thought this
Then
was
why
all,
would we have not included it in the budget?
so I thought this was all going together.
We just, a couple of weeks ago, we came to the conclusion we couldn't. And that's why we came up with this new calendar. So this is not new.
I think the library board is going to be at this meeting, and they may make a strategic choice after the hearing to say, you know what, getting this done this spring, even though we want to break ground this spring, is not the best option for us. I agree with all the points that you're making, and maybe that everyone else makes, that it's better to know what our fiscal numbers are this year and have it done in the summer, or, then it's going to be a line item on next year's budget, and it really depends on what their real timeline is and what the feedback is from the townspeople, the audience, as to whether they think that this is really something that they want to decide on before knowing the final numbers on our budget.
But when we talked with them, wasn't there a deadline by which they needed a commitment from the town to secure the grant?
They do, and I think to Gary's point, that amount, that timeline is probably broader than their hope to break ground line. Of when they need to fund
ground.
When they need to, they need to secure the funding in a certain time.
They need to secure the funding so they can advance to take some plans and do some spending to do that.
Exactly.
Is what they wanted to try and do before April. They don't have to get it done by April.
But all right, then we'd have to look back at the notes to
Look back
see
at the notes, and I think you're fine.
when the grant from the state
They have 2 years.
to file all of to get the commitment from the town. They need 2 years to get that.
They have 2 years to get it.
3.
They have 3, but right now they probably only got 2 left.
They got it in November, according to the letter that came out.
Yeah,
Right.
but they have to show a proof of funds and then they can execute it over a 3-year term.
Yeah, see, that's where I get a little confusion here.
From reading through this, they have a hard commitment that they have to make to the state to get this grant, to get the money finalized by a certain time frame.
And what do we?
And I'm trying to go through my notes while talking.
I-
But but to construction wise, it's very similar to like a steep grant where you can go out and all right, it's gonna take this, we're gonna break ground, early 2027. And that's when we're gonna break ground.
Right.
It's within a time frame to execute the actual project itself, but to secure the financing portion of it, if I remember right, April didn't really work.
That's
I'm
what
trying
I
to go through
understood, and
my
that's why
notes.
we're doing all, now, if I'm wrong on that, we're going to reexamine it, but my old premise on this was that the state needed the commitment from the town.
They can't do anything, they can't do anything until they get the full commitment
From the town.
from the
Check
town.
your
Right.
But
November.
I think
No, no,
that,
no,
that, but that
no.
timeline,
No, my question, the big issue here is they've got the $1 million that they raised themselves. They're looking for $1 million from us to complete the commitment from the state. And I understood that the state needed to hear that, not to draw the funds, but they needed to hear that that commitment had been made like in April. And that's why we had to push this forward and not do it through.
It was a proof of funds. That's all they need. They
Right,
say
but they need that by
everything's-
April is what I understood.
Yeah. I'm
Now, if
still
I'm
trying-
wrong, let's find out. But I think that's why we're pushing this forward. I don't
So
know.
all of this discussion happened at the November 5th Board of Finance meeting, and the grant is open for 3 years, according to my notes. So if anyone else has notes from November 5th, they can start
Yeah.
looking now.
yeah, my understanding is that the construction costs go up. Their hope to have everything done is contingent upon them breaking ground this spring. And to Gary's point, and to Winona, what Winona just said, I believe the ability for them to secure the full funding to secure the grant, there's a broader window, it's 2 or 3 years, but they don't want to wait that long.
Which is understandable. It's just,
Yeah, I have no doubt that every day that goes by, the price is going to go up and up and up. And they've committed to us that it doesn't matter how much they run over, they're covering the overage. We are dedicating, if the town decides, $1 million. So
Wow.
I'm sure that they're chomping at the bit to get things going
Which
so
we-
that the price doesn't continue to go
Which-
up.
Which we all know where they're going to take the money. They're going to take the money from the endowment, which indirectly over the time frame, they have less money in their endowment, which is going to put more pressure on our yearly
To
budget.
fund their operation.
Which we already know. It's robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's just, they're doing it now to get construction done, and we're going to have to deal with it down the road.
You know, I think we are all going to be part of the audience. We are all taxpayers. We can ask these questions of them on Monday.
Correct.
They can clarify in front of the entire, town that comes out. We can ask these questions and ask
I
and get
think
the answers.
that will definitely, the questions that we all have right now are going to be part of their presentation. And certainly it's going to be part of their presentation. If someone says, when Bob says, hey, the referendum, if we want to do this is going to be March 16th, and the townspeople say, this is way too rushed. We want to see what the budget looks like first before we say yes. They're certainly going to have to push back their timeline. And I believe they have, vis-a-vis the state and the grant, they have time to do that. But
What's the cost for us to conduct a referendum in this town?
It's like $2,500, isn't it? Yeah.
2,500
Yeah, you got to
only?
pay and it's machines and pollers and all that stuff.
all right, guys, it's 10:25. Do we want to, you're going to adjourn your meeting?
Can I make a motion to adjourn the Board of Selectmen meeting? Seconded by John.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. This is my second.
All right, Ed, what kind of minutes we got? I'm gonna move back over to where I was.
Yeah, they motion to table the minutes.
Second. We have a motion to table the minutes and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public comment. Mr. Riley.
You get a special award. Give him a mic. Something to think about. If this
Wait a
all
minute, wait a
goes through.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Something to think about. Mike Riley, 184. We'll say this all goes through with the town spending $1 million. When they were here discussing the project, they never mentioned they're changing the heating system, correct? Power goes out, what's gonna happen with the heating system? Like now you can put a small generator, I believe, to run the boiler. With this new style heating system, what are they gonna have for electricity to run it? I think you ought to check in the project and see if there's a generator in there for a backup system. And there was nothing brought up about that at their meeting.
That
I hate
sounds
to
like
see
a,
the town put $1 million in it and have a freeze like this -17 wind chill this weekend and lose power and have a pipes break.
I know this question was brought up. I think I asked the guy from Matter, and I'm like, they were pushing a very the most efficient heating system that they could have, which would be the electric heat. I think it was electric heat pump system and everything. But you're 100% right. Electricity goes down. Instead of having a small generator operating a propane or natural gas or an oil fired, it'd be very, very difficult to have something.
If you need a bigger one like the got for the town hall or even bigger.
Correct.
I'd hate to see the town put $1 million into it and have all the pipes freeze and have to redo it the next year.
Also, the price of electricity it keeps on going up and up and up and up. I
You don't have
understand
to
the
tell me.
green, I understand the green footprint, but at some point, it's cost prohibitive.
these are great questions for the library board. Any other public comment? Ryan Rathman?
Is this on?
Yeah, take it for the town hall.
It's not on?
Yeah.
It's on. Okay. Anyways, it was a good meeting, long meeting, obviously. But one question I'd like to see the board ask of all the different organizations that come here is a lot of them have their own budgets. How much money are they putting in from their budgets toward their ask?
Give me an example, Brian.
The example, perfect example is the library. They're putting in $1 million of their own. We had a school project. How much did the school put in for that? We had a fire department. We built a new building. How much money did they put in from their budget? That's the question I'd like to find out. And I think, yeah, a lot of the things you discussed probably will get answered Monday night.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if somebody from the audience has to ask for a motion for it to go there, so give guidance on that or what, but I'm sure you guys will figure that out. It's up to you.
Motion for what? For it to go to a referendum, you mean?
Referendum.
Yeah, I think you just voice your opinion as what you, and encourage anybody in the audience to see, voice their opinion whether they want to see this go to a vote for a referendum.
Okay. All right. I gotta go home, put my chickens to bed.
Okay.
Motion adjourned.
Anything online? Any public comment?
There's one.
One person? No hand up.
No hand up.
So we have a motion to adjourn. I'm on a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.